Trapaholics Mixtapes.
You guy got me geeked up in bit. Hit your heart the wicked. This that wicked scene. Hey, you talking about? Real on bro. Knock your block down, whole hand around. With the folk finna move out of town. Off the whip and try to get off your drop. Off the whip and try to knock down your block. Can I go like a shot? Fuck 12, I shoot at the cops. Walk around where illegals at. How the fuck illegals at? To the valet down for his bins. Had a trailer twin my gin. At the roof, I'm dropping the 10. At the roof, I'm scratching that bins. I'm off the whip, you know how that go. Brr. Fuck the hoe from the back out the whip. Took the feds on the chase, ain't no ticket. Eat the pussy out the whip, bet I lick it. You crazy, you think I got blicky? Brought the rock down, know that shit sticky. Off the whip and a little bit of Henny. No, I'm lit, bleed up in the city. I'm in lit, bleed up in the Fendi. Square hoe, let me put on my Jimmy. Hoe it dick, I'm sliding and hit me. Got the blick and a rat, take him down. Cut your boy, catch that boy out of bound. Out the way, bitch, I move out of town. Off the whip, trying to get at the crown. Shit. Guy got me geeked up with it. Hit your heart the wicked. This that wicked scene. Hey, you talking about? Spray your on bro. Knock your block down, whole hand around. With the folk finna move out of town. Off the whip and try to get off your drop. Off the whip and try to knock down your block. Can I go like a shots? Fuck 12, I shoot at the cops. Walk around where illegals at. How the fuck illegals at? To the valet down for his bins. Had a trailer twin my gin. At the roof, I'm dropping the 10. At the roof, I'm scratching that bins. I'm off the whip it, you know how that go. Brr. Fuck the hoe from the back out the whip it. Took the feds on the chase, ain't no ticket. Eat the pussy out the whip, bet I lick it. You crazy, you think I got blicky? Brought the rock down, know that shit sticky. Off the whip and a little bit of Henny. No, I'm lit, bleed up in the city. I'm in lit, bleed up in the Fendi. Square hoe, let me put on my Jimmy. Hoe it dick up, sliding and hit me. Got the blick and a rat, take him down. Cut your boy, catch that boy out of bound. Out the way, bitch, I move out of town. Off the whip, trying to hit it in crown. Out the room, baby's at getting down. Out the room, baby, I don't let no shots. Can't go, baby, I'm shooting at that drop top. You ain't real what you want, trying to cop block. Fuck the slim, thick coat with a crop top. Ebony hoe, get it on. Jaw like that, it's and they fillet me on. They doing like one hand in the school zone. Off the whip, just took me home school hoe. She felt the bone and she know I'm hard. Can't go, gotta pull your card. All the Zai bitch, I'm wearing Mars. I the Zai bitch, I'm starting wearing Mars. I just out the whip it, I'm ready. I just out, now I'm geeking. Yeah, I the whip it. They can play right now, I'ma whip it. I don't ride right now, I'ma fix it. Double that whip off.
Oh, shit. Rhyming Mars with Mars. Brilliant stuff. This channel is Keanu if you haven't seen any of these videos, but if you want to know what a whippet is, I guess he's going to tell us.
Inhalation of nitrous oxide, whippets, causes a transient lowering of voice pitch and altered timbre due to the gas's increased density, which slows sound wave propagation and shifts the vocal tract's resonant frequencies. Simultaneously, nitrous oxide induces acute neuropsychological changes by antagonizing NMDA receptors and modulating dopamine release, leading to euphoria, dissociation, reduced inhibition, and transient cognitive impairment. These combined effects can result in a slowed, slurred, or unusually modulated voice reflecting both altered acoustics and a disinhibited, intoxicated mental state.
The whippet in my body.
May 3rd transcripts.
All right, so we saw the first video, the song, and then in that little intro explaining what whippets are, we saw another person doing whippets. So I think that we're about to see the first person who's white do whippets. And what I'm referring to, of course, is the fact that I think it was yesterday, Sunday, just the 23rd, so no, I guess it was on Friday. Oh yeah, I remember. This was happening while I was streaming on Friday, which is, I guess, the downside of streaming when I stream, like, at prime time, because then you miss stuff like this. But Rackets decided to go on Mr. Questionable Sexuality in Regards to Children, Patrick Melton's podcast with just a gaggle of characters that I couldn't be asked to know who they are. And one of the characters on here is a certain Keanu Thompson. Now, this whole thing that people call the Dabbleverse, which involves like trolling Aaron Imholte, Nick Rekieta's former lover, I don't get it. I'm not going to give the whole history. I barely understand it myself. To make it as absolutely simple as possible to get us into the actual content here. Basically, it's a group of people who are trying to be O&A 20 years too late. All of them are all Opie and Anthony Walkers. They're specifically Anthony Walkers, which is funny because he's the one who had the career blow up and is now completely irrelevant now. And through some like bizarre chain of custody from Stuttering Craig to Gino Bisconte, if you don't know who these people are, you don't need to. They've somehow inserted themselves into the Rackets universe through Aaron Imholte. And so we have this lady who's in the bottom left, Keanu Thompson. She, from what I've heard, she comes in here strong and she basically just bitch slaps Rekieta. I'm going to put this at the outset. I am not saying Keanu is like great or a good person or anything. She had an OnlyFans. She is Eskimo sisters with her mother. I'm going to leave it at that. If you don't know what that means, don't worry about it. Don't read the post. It's disgusting. But she does come in here, and honestly, Rekieta losing to someone like this only makes the story better. It's the writer's choice. Having the antagonist laid low by like, it's like Wormtongue stabbing Saruman. Like the fact that Saruman, who had this little worm, this little creature that was next to him while he was the big dog, and then just gets stabbed by it, and then they both die to their deaths, is the writer's choice. It is the best choice. This is terrible to listen, actually. Do you mean the song or my sound mixing? If you mean the song, well, that's kind of the idea. If you mean the sound mixing, then it's probably because of that video, and I'll make sure it's right for this. Anyway, so Keanu comes in here and basically has this whole blow up. The reason why Keanu's even part of this is because she's apparently friends with April. And I know that I've just thrown like 5 names at you. This is what I mean. I'm trying to like boil this down to just what you need to understand what's happening here. April was part of the polycule that Nick lived in. The polycule consisted of Aaron Imholte, April Imholte, Nick, obviously, and Nick's wife. April... Oh, this is terrible to listen, actually. The IBS between I heard it was good. I heard that she like destroys him and he just does whippets and melts down. If it's bad, I'll go off of it. But I want to see it at least. I didn't pre-watch this because I've been told, right? We'll see. I have other stuff that I can talk about, but I do want to see about this because it might be funny. Anyway, so Keanu is apparently friends with April, which was Nick's second wife, I guess, sister wife. And kind of Keanu leaving the Baldo bunker occurred around the time when she was starting to get concerning texts from April about them missing court-ordered drug tests and about the use of Whippets, which is like, it's just that, like, how can this guy go to this whole, like, I'm not addicted cope when you're trying to use the most bottom barrel. I mean, we've seen two people, like I said, we've seen 2 people use Whippets on this stream so far. Okay. All she did was telling Rack, okay, well, we'll see. We'll see. There's no real winners except for us. Well, then that's good too. I'm good for that too. I mean, if Keanu gets destroyed by Rekieta here, I'm fine with that too. I just want to see what happens. Because if I like, from what I've heard, Rekieta does like admit a bunch of shit in here that he has no reason to say publicly, especially when it comes to April. Because the whole thing about April is that, you know, he was trying to say that they weren't together, but then he was shown with pictures visiting the apartment he put her up in. And then in here, he says he has him staying in the thing. I don't know. I'm not going to do any more prep work. Basically, the whole idea is this woman is not a good person. This man is not a good person. And maybe they're going to destroy each other. And they have a connection through this woman, April Imholte, who was Rekieta's girlfriend or something. Whatever term you want to use. All right, let's go.
I know.
Also, we're not watching this at 1 speed. I don't watch anything at 1 speed. I don't know why anyone does. At least not when we're streaming.
So I'll get to it. Let's see.
Will you?
I know you only have. I know you only
for 35 minutes. Like
I know that you only have a few minutes. So did you or did
That's funny because Rekieta always says that he only has a few minutes, and then he sits on these streams for literally 6 hours.
you not get into a? Did you or did you not get into a blame April for missing your drug test, and did she or did she not call me?
So this is the missed drug test I refer to.
Ventilating, crying.
Did I blame April for missing a drug test?
Yes.
No, I didn't blame
You
April
said to
for
her,
missing a drug test.
from how she put it, you said to her, I've never heard somebody so upset in my entire life, crying, hyperventilating, beside herself crying, saying, well, we got...
See, the thing is here, the reason why this might be reliable is because she does have personal communication with April. The thing is, there is a way for Nick out of this, which is to admit that he was controlling April's text and social media, which has been a theory for a while. The problem is, it's like a suicide felt, as the other product says, because it's like, really, do you want to admit something like that?
Kayla and I got into a fight about you, so we couldn't make it to our drug test.
What do you want me to say?
She made it up? You think she made it up?
No, I don't think she made it up. I just didn't blame April for missing a drug test.
Okay, so you did miss the drug test.
Yeah, I missed the drug test.
Right. Did she or did she not
there we go.
text me and say that...
So the reason why this is important is not because anyone had any delusions about Nick missing a drug test. It's because Nick has this habit of lying past when it's beneficial. And I know that sounds like sociopathic, but that's because he is, I don't know if he's something, right? And so like sometimes he will, like when he lies about missing, which is something he has lied about. He said it in November. He said it in like August, around the time it happened, that he did not miss this drug test. So now he's going to say he did, just to win this little argument.
Both you and Kayla are both emotionally... Shall I read it? Since all of you like to do that, I will. Would
You
you
have
like
an hour
to
to prepare this backstage. You're going to be the
No
first
one's
time you read
reading-
texts from April.
Why?
What's this? Hey,
Why do you keep asking
and
other people?
Also, wait, I just got here. I
wait.
got here, you red-faced little bitch.
Look at him. He's changing color. This is like Ralph. Remember I did the stream where Ralph just says that he turned purple. He goes Oompa Loompa mode and Grimace Maxes. And it fits with his shirt, too. Like, how do you guys think this isn't all written? How do you think that there is not a divine plan to the universe when he's wearing purple and he's about to turn purple?
I
But
just got here. All right,
Keanu.
great. I just got here. When did you get the permission from her to display the text messages at Hackamania? Was it January? Was it
You're
March?
not one to, you're not one to.
No. When did you get the permission from her?
Here I am doing a podcast.
I thought you hadn't talked to her in January. Then you said March at a traffic stop. Did you get the permission at a traffic stop?
What are you talking
You're
about?
wrong. You're
When did you get the permission? When did you get the permission?
Milton jumps in. It's funny, like, if I was Nick, I would, well, first of all, I would never, like, go on Milton's show, because it's like, why even be associated with him? But you don't want this guy coming in on your side in any kind of IBS like this, because first of all, he's, like, always drunk on the show. I guess they all are. But he does not have the two brain cells necessary to rub together to even engage with this sector.
You're getting it wrong because you're not plugged into this again.
No. I'm genuine. Well, when did you get the permission from her to share the text messages?
It was written on her boyfriend's middle finger, you dumb bitch. Like,
Well,
when do you
answer the
think I got
question.
it?
Answer the question. When did you get the permission?
We talked
When
about
did
it
you get
for
the
months
permission?
and months and months. You
And
talked to
then
her
you
once
hadn't
in
talked to her
October.
since January or March at a traffic stop. Did you get
I
the
did. How
permission?
do I talk to her at a traffic stop? She's
traffic
That's what I'm
stop.
asking.
Kiki, you're mixing up
So if you hadn't talked to her-
stories.
So if you hadn't talked to her in months, then do you still have the permission to
shit.
show the
She's like,
text
you're
messages?
retarded.
You're
When did you get the
literally the
permission?
dumbest person on the planet.
You look how red you are.
So I think what Keanu, well, other than this, which is funny, I think what Keanu is trying to get here is Nick has dropped like April texts and is something that he dropped at Hackamania to prove that Aaron's a cuck. Now, again, as the other product says, it's kind of a suicide felt because by dropping those texts, you're also admitting you're a cuck, right? Okay, it's all in the grand scheme of Nick Rekieta, and in his mind, it's all going to work out in his favor. But anyway, she's trying to determine whether he actually had the permission to drop those, because from what I understand, what people think is that April has a new boyfriend and doesn't like Nick anymore. So him dropping these texts while they're on the outs is like pretty dishonest.
Look how red you
She's
are.
a
When did you get the permission?
She's
When
a
did you get the
cross
permission?
at an
When did you get the
intersection.
permission? When did you get the permission?
Kiki, you gotta let him answer, honey.
Kiki,
No, he's not gonna.
I'm trying to answer you. I was in a relationship with April that ended in November.
Okay, I'm sorry. I know everybody who's listening to this probably already knows this, but do you realize it's been less than 6 months since we went from, I didn't go to Jamaica, I'm not drunk every stream, I'm not using drugs, I don't even know who Kayla is anymore, she doesn't even live near me, she left with Aaron, and I've never had sex with anyone other than my wife. It's been less than 6 months between that to, between now, where he is on stream admitting to having a extramarital. That's how far things have gone.
I spoke to her through January. We had planned
You
the
told Pretty
entire.
Antisocial you saw her last time in March.
They
And then you
didn't
told
talk.
somebody
It
else
was in
in
a
April.
car.
In
Kiki,
separate cars, 40 yards away. Keep up, you dumb.
Jesus Christ, she's
Did
dumb.
she know?
Wow. Okay, like they could have a point here about like the traffic stop or whatever, but just look at her. This is I gotta give it to her. This is the way you respond when you ask one question. These people are just freaking the fuck out. Like, look at these two guys. These two guys know. I don't even know who these are. Like I said, I try to know as least about the sector, this little part of the sector, like the Melton verse as possible. But
go in here to put your leash on so we can drag you through a logic question, you dumb bitch. What is wrong with you?
I'm genuinely
asking. Put your helmet on so you can eat some soup later. You dumb piece of shit.
They saw each other in cars across the street. They were talking.
Daddy!
All right, so when did you get the permission? When did you get the permission to show her text
I don't know.
I
Maybe
can't take this. It's like she's smacking him with a question.
for months and months and months while he was dragging her name through the mud online.
When did you get the permission to show her text messages at a festival of incels? Sorry, Patrick. Sorry.
Literally.
Oh, you say what Aaron says.
No, why apologize? Why? No one's the last guy you apologized to.
You're saying what Aaron says. That's fine.
Okay.
Oh my God, we
Not
talk
you,
every
Carl.
day, you moron. What is
So you
wrong
got
with
her-
you?
you got her
So
permission-
mad.
You got her permission to show her text messages on a large
Yes.
screen back in when? November?
Oh my God, yeah, but you know, that story, she told me
It's a weird
well
thing.
before,
Why
well
don't you
before
let him answer
November.
it?
She told me that story before November, you retard.
Yeah, but you showed it at Hackamania in March, and a lot has happened in those 3 months. That's why, retroactively it justifies me pointing out the timeline here.
That
Like entire kingdoms have risen and fallen in 3 months in the Rekieta Baldovers.
being said, we were planning on telling that story from the moment she told it.
Until she has a new boyfriend? Maybe you might want to get new permission to...
No, I don't give a shit at all about getting new permission.
Okay, so you don't have permission.
She's playing this like cross-examining like as a lawyer, and it's kind of funny.
He owns April. The new boyfriend owns April.
When did the permission go
Like she's
away?
trying to impeach a witness.
You have permission from months
She's
ago?
too dumb to talk to. You can't even.
You're about,
The problem is there's no judge to like rein her in on some of the dirty tricks you can do as a prosecutor, so it's like
Kiki, you're about to share some text from April. When did you get permission to share that?
No, I
Literally
don't.
never.
I don't
You
think he has.
evil.
He
You
has
are
permission.
You said-
monster.
You had your phone out.
Please
You were
don't
going
write
to
in the
bing, bing, bing those
Facebook.
You are a
No,
monster.
okay, so
you are a
you
monster.
said
You're
literally,
evil
I
just
had
for asking this question.
Are you dumb
Full
bitch?
permission.
You doxed a woman that I really, really cared for and put her in
didn't
danger
know where she
because you're
was
so
living.
stupid. You thought
Wait. He's gonna say she doxed him. We know who doxed her. It was Minnesota Public Records. Is he trying to imply that she's Minnesota Public Records? Because that's almost certainly not true. Because some of the documents that Minnesota Public Records have gotten, I don't even think Keanu knows exist. It would have required some steps to get a hold of them.
that would be a good idea. You took her entire privacy and shredded it with her ex-husband who beat her. You
Oh, nice, great. Okay, so that's per se defamation that Nick just did. I don't want to give a win to Aaron. I mean, if you saw the last stream I covered Rekieta, I literally couldn't even make it through the Aaron videos because he's so bad, and so annoying to listen to. But yeah, I mean,
No.
for a guy who's already losing a defamation case right now to Montegraph, it's great.
No. Shut up.
Go.
You're wrong.
the
You're wrong.
dumbest person
Dox
ever.
her
What
house
you did
because
to her is
everyone
evil.
knew she was
You're
living in the house next door.
evil.
Everyone knew she was living in the
Yes,
house next door.
yes,
Yes,
get
they
him.
fucking
I have the text
did.
messages of her
And then
saying, how
what?
could
And then
Keanu
what?
do
When
this to
Kayla,
me?
and then
Why
she
would
calls
she
me
do this to
crying.
me?
When she calls me crying and saying,
She didn't
I
call
can
you
only go
crying.
over there. I can't.
She stopped
She
you
did.
in
She
October,
did.
you
She
retard.
did. She did. I can only go over there. I can only go over there when Kayla leaves the house, and that's the only time he wants to hang out with me. When Kayla leaves, and then I can only go over there, and then he wants to bone me, and then I have to leave again.
Yeah,
And then
we weren't on the best terms, you dummy.
Okay,
I
I'm
also
just
told her I wouldn't have
asking.
sex with her anymore. And I stopped. What the f is wrong with you?
You
You
said
were in October, you
Wait a
retard.
minute. So
When was
so according to Rekieta here, they stopped having sex. Again, it's so funny we're already to that. Like he's just talking about that openly. So he said they wouldn't have sex, but he gave her his second house, and we know she was there because she was posting all these pictures. People put it together. It was like she didn't hide it at all. It was like she wanted people to know. And then that eventually got her moved to the apartment that also got doxxed. Again, not by Keanu. Keanu didn't do any of this.
last time you talked to her, Keanu? When was it?
When was the last
October
time you
27th?
did?
When was it?
When was
January was the last time he did. When was the last time you did, Keanu?
October 27th, right?
October? No.
27th.
It was probably
Kiki
no. Well,
sucks.
I can take a look back. But
How would I
I
know
just
this?
wanna know- I
What
just wanna know
magic would I
when
know
you
about
got
your
the
conversation,
permission-
you idiot?
I
You
only-
didn't
I-
date me. It was the months I spent
Look at
talking
you,
to
look
April
how red you are.
afterward.
Look how red you are. Shall I?
Yeah, I'm right.
Yeah, dude, this is like he straight up's Ralph mail mode. This is grimace maxing.
I'm mad
Shall
at
I?
you.
Going to
Shall
ad
I?
What do you
hominem.
think?
Shall I?
Yes,
Shall I? I
you're
just
red.
was it January at the traffic stop, and that's how you knew somehow that her
March,
boyfriend didn't
March
like.
at the traffic stop, you dumb bitch. You can't follow bitch.
When did you get the permission? When did you get the permission?
Stupidest
When-
Oh my god, this is like the second appeal stream. It's so funny because like in the last Rekieta thing, I said kind of jokingly, I was like, if you're part of the audience, you want Rekieta to get back on the Coco and appeal streams every night. And it seems like he took I mean, obviously he didn't listen to my video, but I'm saying he's like taking that general sentiment to heart. Look at this.
When did you get the permission? When did you get the permission? When did you get the permission?
And ask them
When did you get the
I was
permission?
gonna say she's too dumb that even like she can't talk. She's dumb.
I'm asking the question. Why
So
is
is the
that
only counter argument here just Keanu's dumb? Because I don't think anyone has any delusions about Keanu's intelligence.
a hard question to answer? Why is that such a hard question?
picture of the underside of the card and sell it online, retard.
Why is that
Jesus
such a hard
Christ.
question to answer? Why is that such a hard question to answer?
No one needs the
Yeah.
answer. The
Why
question is
not?
stupid because the
I
question's
need the
dumb.
answer.
You're just so dumb you don't realize
When
it.
did you
Oh
get
my
the
God.
permission? When did you get the permission?
I talked to this woman
When?
every
When?
single day.
He said from
From
when the first time she
September-
told him. The
Okay.
first time she told him, he said that they
January.
planned to tell it
So
at
don't you
Hackmania. He
think-
got her
Okay, so we have confirmation that Rekieta, at least this is his current story, right? He changes it every 2 seconds, but that he hasn't talked to April since January. Now that means either the picture of him, his car in front of her apartment is a fail dox, or it means he doesn't have permission for the text. Do you see how he loses? Like heads he loses, tails the other side wins. You know, like there's no way to win. Either he is lying and he's still meeting up with April, which is kind of what we're trying to determine here, or 2, he doesn't have permission.
permission.
May have changed since from whenever.
Who's the onus on? Who's the onus on to update about the status? Is it on April?
No,
or
I
is it on
don't think
him?
it's. I don't think it's
I'm
changed
just
at
asking
all.
the question. I'm asking the question.
Yeah, it's a dumb question.
How do you know?
I'm just asking questions, and when you start talking about cookies,
Retarded.
How do you
Stupid
know?
question.
Get your
How do
head
you know?
that
Hold
was
on. How do you know
over.
Gino still loves you? Have you checked in the past 5 minutes? You might not still be married. Check in.
I'm just asking when you got the.
what kind of argument is that? Check in if you're still married. These fucking idiots don't even know what marriage is. It's like you make an eternal sacrament that fuses you together as one flesh, and Melton's like, you got to double check.
Has
When
he
did
been
you get-
sleeping in the
when
garbage
did you
cans
get
he's selling?
permission?
Like, are you
When did you
alone
get
now?
permission?
What's wrong with
No, I
you?
know you're all trying to defend your little
That's
pesky
this dumb.
boy.
No one's trying to
I told
defend me. They
Kiki I'd
don't
never
need
talk
to.
to her
You're a
loser
bowl of
ass again.
Cheerios.
Don't talk to Kiki.
Fucking unthreatening because you're so goddamn
No, you're
stupid.
so upset. You're so red in the face. It's
Yes, I'm
ridiculous.
mad. I'm angry. You took someone I love and you shredded
I
them to
know.
the world.
Right.
Yeah, he still hasn't determined that. What has Keanu actually done that's, quote, shredded? And you know what's so funny about this? He's not talking about Kayla. He's not talking about his wife. When he's screaming about this friend that you've destroyed, he's not talking about Kayla. He is talking about April. I know other people have said this. I've seen it, so I'm just going to repeat it. Has Nick ever mustered this much emotion defending Kayla, considering all the shit that was thrown her way? Not even after the arrest and everything, but before it. When people knew that Nick was off his bloody rocker, when he was riding the Cosmic Highway, people would throw all this shit out there blaming... And who knows really how this sort of degen impulse entered into the situation. But people were trying to theorize whether it was her or not, and he never got this angry.
Self.
And
I
you
have a
called
right
her out
to
of
be
your
mad about
Whippets.
that. You
Right.
said she was your friend and
No,
you did that to
you're full
her.
of shit. You're
Oh
full
my
of
God,
shit. I've
find a
never been more
bridge,
worried
you
about you.
bitch.
Have another Whippets. Have another Whippet and call it a day.
Have
I'm
another
glad-
whippet.
When did you
Kiki,
get-
jump.
When did you get permission to
Why
share
did that get censored?
the text that you're threatening to share right now?
I will.
No,
I
but
don't
when
care.
did you get
if
permission?
clearly
We'll
don't
get permission
like it.
after.
When?
Okay.
When did you get permission?
No, I don't have permission. That's why
then why
you
why you say
were
you'll
putting
share?
them on the
Monster.
screen.
You
I'm just wondering
But
when
she hasn't released them yet, so it's not the same.
you had the permission to share those.
Disgusting.
I mean, I guess you could say she's like dangling the text, right? Which is gay. It's like dangle doxing, but still, I mean, keep it on point.
But you're
She's
saying
my
you'll share
best
them.
friend. Here's all of her life.
He's answered that question. He's answered it.
Yeah.
No, he
When
didn't.
back at the last time, like around.
Well, he
the
did answer it. He said he hasn't talked to her since January, which means he doesn't have permission. Got it. Okay.
Am I
He
even
told
talking
him
to
that
her?
story. The first time she told him that story, she said he could share it.
Yes.
He's answered.
She said you
Don't
could
you
share
Keep
your
asking the
text.
question. No, he doesn't think he needs
She doesn't
updating.
want to be.
Neither
She
does
doesn't want
anybody
to be.
else.
She doesn't want to
Yeah,
be.
okay, so here's the problem, though. When she said that, they were a couple, as admitted by Nick Rekieta. Whereas now, the situation, at least one of the storylines, because again, everybody lies so much here, it's hard to know what's really happening, is that April has a new boyfriend and hates Nick. So yeah, I actually do think you probably need to get like permission for that. I mean, that's like, and you shouldn't do this, but there are people who, you know, when you're a couple or whatever, you take like nudes and stuff and send them to each other. And, you know, maybe you get permission to do something with them. I'm not saying like publicly show them. It's not quite the same, but do something with them. Obviously, when you break up, like you got to check in on like, what's the status on what you should do with those. Now, obviously, that's all very degenerate. I'm not saying really any of that is okay, but I'm just trying to make a comparison here that there was clearly a romantic, when you're in a romantic relationship, there's like a level of trust and level of transparency and exposure that's different when you're not. And so, yeah, I do think that Keanu has a point here about him getting permission, especially when he blasts them at an event like Hackmania, and they are humiliating for April. They're humiliating for everyone, but, you know.
like a part of this or online or whatever.
Did you find that out when you talked to her on October 27th?
Well, did you? You apparently.
Shut up, you dumb bitch! Put a bouncer in your mouth and hail Patrick, the king of Dabbleverse drama.
You know you were
January is after October, right?
I'm sorry, you're wrong. You're wrong.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter when Keanu talked to her last. That's not like that's irrelevant. It would be relevant if she now drops these texts. You could throw this back in her face, but
She called me. I'm sorry that she called me and she said, you know, Aaron and I. Sorry, I just hit a hit of nitrous. And she sounded out of her.
October 27th, San Diego. October 27th.
Fine. Aaron told me out of nitrous.
Your leather face, Mom, is chasing me around the Crawford house.
Someone should make an edit where it's him screaming October 27th, but they cut out the part where he says 2. So it's like him just screaming October 7th, and like make it sound like he supports Hamas or something.
Kiki,
sorry,
I don't know how to explain to you that
she told
January
me. Aaron taught me how to do. Excuse me.
Now we're debating the calendar. Hey, well,
Nick taught me how to do nitrous. I said Aaron.
Yes,
there's some people who have been debating the calendar
and
since like the 12th century, dude. There's like the whole Julian Gregorian calendar debate, dude.
I gotta do nitrous and coke and Molly and ketamine.
Exactly, and she was still doing it. That's terrifying to me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Why are you changing the argument?
She makes her own choices. What is wrong with you?
Or that you,
or
that you, she's calling me hyperventilating because you.
No, she called you one time. Retard.
No, this is why I don't deal with her.
You are so wrong. You are so wrong.
Did Melton just say this is why I don't deal with her? This is your stream and you invited her on. What the fuck are you talking about? Also, why interfere? You should just let them kill each other.
No, wrong. Show them.
Whatever. Oh, you know what? Yeah, I'll have a festival about it and just like air them all out. That's what I'll do.
Why would you do that to your friend?
Jerry.
Why would you do that to your ex-lover that you like taught how to do nitrous and all this bullshit?
I didn't.
And that you wouldn't even let her come over until Kayla left the house. And so you could go there and
so the nitrous thing is interesting because that is apparently that claim is derived from a direct text sent from April to Keanu. So if I was Keanu, I'd drop that shit at this point.
What do you want me to do? Why don't you come over and fight with someone? That'll be great.
Are we pretending that drugs aren't cool, Keanu?
Listen,
what's going on?
Great
everything in
argument from
moderation,
Melton.
but I don't
Thanks,
have
Melton.
kids, all right?
There it is.
I haven't done kids.
Keanu can't give birth.
Yeah, okay, so that's what the lesson here is. It's not that Nick Rekieta has a higher standard of responsibility because he has kids. It's that Keanu's infertile. That's the real crime here. I don't think she's infertile, but what my point is that's like what they're implying. That's the crime.
I'm sorry your eggs dried up and your husband's semen comes out in dust, but I don't want kids with you anyway. You're so stupid.
Oof, massive L doesn't want kids. I now don't believe anything she's saying.
Government would take them away and be like,
psychopath.
Like the government took yours away? You dumb piece of shit. And
yes, when you're retarded, the government takes your kids away for a while. For you, it'd be permanent.
I'm sorry you missed a drug test.
Okay, that's funny.
I'm not like it happened.
I'm sorry you missed a drug test.
Who cares?
Here's what she said. You want to hear it?
No, not really.
Okay, so then he leaves. He rage quits. So he loses that debate. If you rage quit, you lose. That's, sector rule number 1.
Shut the f up, you retard.
Okay, so he joins back. There's apparently a on-screen Whippet usage in this. That's what I've been promised.
Shut the f up, you retard. I held her as she cried, talking to the St. Cloud Police Department, reporting the...
So this is something where there's actually more than just Keanu saying he's lying. According to Josh, who I guess is in contact with the police because he's trying to get Freedom of Information Act for all this stuff, and he says, 2 more weeks, guys, 2 more weeks on the body cam footage. We'll see. Again, I like to be optimistic about that. Apparently, he claims that he's either seen the footage or had it described to him that April totally did talk to the police and said that she had been staying there for a month. And he's going to say here that she didn't say anything.
Crime.
Okay, she did.
Yeah.
She did. That's what she told me. That she said I was just angry.
Oh yeah, she was just angry. She was just angry. You talked.
And she also told me Nick told me how to do Whippets, and I love him, and he's gonna leave his wife.
You keep changing the argument.
Oh, okay, so that's a new thing. Like I said, she already had told us that April claimed that he taught them how to do Whippets, and again, they do Whippets because it doesn't show up in a drug test. But also that he was gonna leave his wife. Oh no,
this is a bad tactic. You keep like changing the.
No. I'm just saying. So maybe.
What does Whippets have to do with what he's asking you about?
No, Whippets has to do with everything because all of this is about drug use.
Well, what do you want me to do? This is what she
I was
told me.
promised on-screen Whippet usage.
What she told me. What do you want me to do?
The Dabbler says he sent the link to Aaron.
What do you want me to do if this is what she told me, and that she told me, and she was hyperventilating about you blaming her about the drug test? What do you want me to do?
Back on the drug test. I don't care what you said about drug test.
Well, what do you want me to do about her telling me that that's not the case? It wasn't like that. What do you want me to do about it?
Where's that text message, Kiki?
We talked on the phone for hours.
We talked on the phone for hours. It just magically happened.
I bet I could find one, shall I?
We talked on the phones for hours. It just magically happened. Says Mr. Shower Call, who apparently just randomly calls people in the shower to tell them to, like, sweep it up for him. Wow, look at this.
Sir, there's an actual record of her police report, you dummy.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
so
where
what do
she
you
sat
want me
there
to
and
do?
said what he did over and over and over to an officer.
What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do?
Not be dumb. Can you try it?
What do you want me to do? If she
Not
told
be
me
a horrible monster.
She said,
to
I
your
know.
friend.
Yes. No, I'm not.
Yes, you are. Oh my God, you're not.
Okay, well, I want to believe the context. I want to believe. I'm sure you're right, but I have faith, and it can move mountains. It can move the Whippet onto screen.
The worst person in her life is you, and I'm glad you're out of it. I'm sorry she ever met you or Aaron or Kayla.
And what's crazy is that you hurt her more than just about anybody else.
Oh, you got to be kidding me, because I have some. Okay, I can't read the texts about you.
Okay, I can't read the texts about you. You're dumb. You're so stupid. I don't even know
permission.
Yeah, whenever Kayla.
It's like you're having a rap battle with a vibrator. You're so stupid.
And then send her back to this.
What did he say? You're having a rap battle with a vibrator? That's like a... It's like a Rekieta classic right there. This is like the appeal stream. Just shit that his attempts at jokes that make no sense.
To the flop house? Yeah, that's nice. Wow. Kayla left for a little bit, so come over and I'll have sex with you. Then go back.
Why can't you read the text? How come you need permission for something?
Amazing. So he was like running like a barn here where they would rotate between each other. It's so gross.
Text and not others.
Hey, there's many. I would have to go through them. Would you like me to read some more?
Kiki,
Would you
I
like
don't
me
know
to
if
read
you know
some
this.
more?
Yeah, we would all like that.
In a sexual relationship.
We want the text.
Let's do it on my channel next week. This little picky next Friday.
Carl, you can't sign off. You just gotta leave, and you're mad.
Sober as a judge, yeah.
I raised the price to skip the queue to $20. That's smart. Good move.
Anyway, I don't know.
Again, I said this last time you suggested that. Wouldn't it be funnier if he wasn't though? Like, come on, we got to think like the audience. What we want is total insanity. We don't want Rekieta sober as a judge. You have to choose to believe the most plausible narrative that you want, and then it becomes possible. It like changes reality. Okay.
Why didn't you have to leave? Red face Nikki boy.
Although I don't think it would be changing reality. I mean, he's clearly look at him. He's purple. He's Ralph. He's grimace maxing like Ralph. If Ralph takes a bunch of azul and then passes out and turns purple, and Rekieta is awake and turns purple, then you know.
I left and came back because I heard you say that she took back the fact that her husband abused her. You're a monster. You're an evil person.
I'm not saying he wasn't emotionally abusive, just like you.
He was physically abusive, you dumb bitch.
But take.
Okay, so now we're arguing about. So now his argument revolves around what's real abuse. God.
I'm about to bust a fat one. Oh shit! Don't stop. Nick, shut up. I'm going to come.
Yeah, well, the problem is, Nick Rekieta, you didn't say. I mean, I pointed this out. You can go back in the replay. He didn't say Aaron was abusive. He says Aaron's a wife beater. So, like, he can't come here now and say, oh, I meant emotionally abusive. That's not what beating is, dude. That's why I pointed it out. I paused and said, there's per se defamation. Because saying beating is per se defamation. Saying emotionally abusive or whatever, you can kind of weasel your way out of.
Take some accountability.
Take
some accountability. Are you serious?
He did.
You blame her. You blame her. Yeah. Okay. You guys didn't hear what?
Keanu.
So are you shocked by the fact that she said that you were emotionally horribly abusive?
No, she told me what she told you. I know it's in the text messages, you retard. I talked to her for months afterwards. We were in a sexual and very romantic relationship for a long time.
I was in a sexual and very romantic relationship with my wife's girlfriend. This is Keemstar. If Keemstar ever got confronted on the whole cuck shit, he would sound exactly like this, and it would be. Now he'd probably be. Well, he wouldn't be sober because Keem does drink during the streams, but it would be a different sort of energy, you know.
How are you this stupid? I
Well,
talk
then
to
why
her
did
every
you say
day.
it?
You talk to her once on the phone. You think you know
No.
everything about her.
Oh, you're full of shit. I talked to her for
full of
weeks
shit.
on the phone.
Oh, for weeks on the phone. Great. The last time you talked to her
she
was
was
October
in your like
27th.
side house. She was in your side house alone, calling me, bitch. Oh my god, are you crazy? She was in your side house calling me, and only
Well, that's just another house. It's not a side house.
No, it's a side house. My wife doesn't know about it.
It's a side house. Got a side house for my side hoe. This guy's living like Diddy.
So please stop talking
Whatever,
about it.
your fair house.
I go into that house and out of that house and in that house and then.
What, are you gonna pretend like the side house doesn't exist, Nick? Like, why even go through this part? Come on, man. It's like the sale record is public knowledge. Everything.
Moans, it's really crazy.
Yes, to bone April when Kayla goes to the grocery store.
Sweet.
Okay, well, that was a cope laugh. That, like, some of this other stuff is just like massive cuck rage. I mean, that's the best way to put it. It's cuck rage, right? But that cope rap, that's because I think what she said is true. What she's saying here is that he would wait until Kayla goes and get grocery shopping, you know, for the kids that they're supposed to be taking care of, right? And then while Kayla is doing, you know, her motherly duty, Nick would call Kayla, or not Kayla, call April over at the side house, the side hoe in the side house, to come over and like climb through the window, right? And then get it on.
Oh my God.
I am who I am. Sorry.
Yes, you're a piece of shit and a pile of garbage. What the hell?
You waited for your wife of your 5 children to leave, and then told April
do it in front of her like the old days.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
That's such a gross, low down, dirty thing to do, and it was upsetting April. And then did she?
Then why did she keep doing it? I mean, that's the other part of this story is April is not like all these people hold responsibility for their actions.
Not go to your parents' house to hang out with them when you guys were ignoring her?
You had to move to my parents' house because you doxed her, you retard.
Again, what is this claim that Keanu doxed her? Keanu did not dox April. I'll tell you exactly who doxed April. April doxed April because she kept posting pictures inside the house of like very specific, like she basically covered the entire interior of the house with pictures. Like you could reconstruct all of it. And okay, let's say, oh, well, we don't want to victim blame or whatever. Okay, then fair enough. Kiwi Farms doxed her then. But it wasn't Keanu.
That's not what it was. I didn't dox her.
Yes, you did.
You know you made that
How?
up. Just like
I didn't know.
What is his narrative here?
Just like I got your Twitter taken down. You know I didn't do that. I didn't do it to Kevin Brennan either.
I have screenshots.
I got your
Then show it, Melton. Do one thing that's useful.
Twitter taken down.
I have screenshots.
Well, then show them. What?
Yeah.
I'll tweet it right after this. P-mail. I'll tweet it right after this.
Somebody post a nude photo of me that's stolen from
I
my
didn't post any nude.
former
It wasn't
OnlyFans.
stolen.
Then I
I
didn't
didn't
do
post
it.
any nude.
Keanu, please. I want to take your side here because you're doing pretty well, but please don't bring up the former OnlyFans.
NLO, I did not do that.
I have a screen.
First she says she doesn't want kids, and I'm already like minus 10,000 points for Keanu. Now she's talking about the OnlyFans.
Shot.
Of
I'll
what?
post it right after this.
I didn't do that.
I'll post it right after this.
Oh.
What?
That's
So
gonna
what
be-
did I
that's gonna be
report you for?
embarrassing.
What did I report you for then?
We'll see. I'll have a I'll show
What did I
Well, then show
report
it.
you for?
Show it.
I will.
We'll
Right after the
see.
show. I'll post it.
Fucking shut the fuck up, Melton.
I reported you and got your Twitter. taken.
We'll see a past event.
Kidding? Like, are you this retarded? Like, you
I
can't,
didn't do
like,
that.
you can't back it up after saying it.
You
I'll post
posted nudes of me and I reported it. If I
Dark Ninja, I'm so happy you brought that up. I watched that. You doxed my dogs. You doxed my dogs. That was so funny.
I didn't post nudes of
sorry.
you, you liar.
I didn't
What's
post
wrong
nudes.
with you?
I'm not
Can you,
talking
can you
to you.
speak without
I'm
any
talking
lies?
to-
Can you
I'm
talk
talking to-
about these
I'm
honest
talking
people?
to-
Nick, I didn't post nudes of you. I've
I
never
know.
posted nudes of you.
Can I
I've never
ask
posted nudes.
Can I ask a question? Because I just reminded me of something. So, Keanu, I know you're very upset with Kevin Brennan for revenge porn, and now you're like doing his show again. Have you just forgiven
I didn't
him?
get his Twitter taken down either for
Why are you
posting
doing
nudes
it?
of
Why are
me.
you doing his show again? If he was
Keanu, don't let them put you on the defensive to justify OF and all this shit because you're never going to win. Just get back on the Whippets. Just start screaming about Whippets because then Nick will spurg out.
revenge porning. You.
Listen, I would say revenge porn is when you're angry with somebody and posting nudes of
Kinda
them.
looked pretty
I call it
antisocial.
revenge porn. However, listen, I know Kevin is
A
we
horrible
made up.
person.
We made up.
Kevin Brennan's a horrible person, Keanu. You and I talked about.
Kevin-
How so? What are the redeeming
I
qualities?
don't terrorism. Do another Whippet and calm your nerves.
If you want to know
I-
about Kevin Brennan, just watch the Porcelain documentary.
You're gonna blow a gasket. Like you're gonna have an aneurysm. Do another Whippet and calm your nerves. All right.
Whoa,
Kiki, you and Nick were talking
Look
about-
at his face here. Hold
You
on.
doxing April that she lived in the house next door to Nick. You said it was public knowledge that
I
everyone knew
thought it
about
was. I thought it was public.
It wasn't.
No.
The reason people found out about it is because you mentioned it on your show.
I'm sorry, and I apologize.
Okay, so that's not the. Okay, so they just admitted she didn't dox him. So, okay, so because she mentioned something that had already happened, that was already public, that was already on the internet, someone who actually did dox her, because she mentioned that existed on her show. Okay, is that really the standard of care we want to set, Nick? You sure about that, bud? Because there's been a lot of stuff that you've talked about on your show that's public knowledge, that's out there, that's like whatever. I mean, by that logic, Nick Rekieta like doxed everybody, right? Doxed everybody in the sector.
I apologized to her too. I talked
No,
to
you
her.
didn't.
I said I
This
thought
is-
it was public knowledge.
Yeah,
You did
this
not.
Is the first time you said that you did it. You said it.
You didn't talk to
this
her.
point.
Maybe you just yes, I understand I have far less subscribers, but I have
This is
apologized
why women shouldn't
publicly,
vote.
and I have apologized to her. Would you like to see those text messages?
I know that you
I'll
have
read
the
them right out
permission
to you. They're mine. I did. I apologized to her. I talked
That's
to her on the
pretty
phone
No, it's
right
just-
after that.
it's like
I thought it was public
40,
knowledge.
40 minutes ago, when Nick said you doxed her and you said I didn't, it was public knowledge. You said that's what you responded. Like as soon as 40 minutes ago. So
Now
I'm
you
just saying
suddenly
that,
told her that you
I
were
didn't
now
realize.
you
I
suddenly
didn't.
said
I
that.
thought you were talking
Yeah, I guess she doxed Dark Ninja's dogs. That's what it's looking like.
about her new place
Nick Rekieta doxed Dark Ninja's dogs.
or something. I had nothing to
Right.
do with
No,
that.
you
That-
don't.
okay.
Unless you're again, you're.
Oh, fuck. Do you know what that means? By this logic, I just doxed Dark Ninja's dogs. Because I talked about how Nick Rekieta talked about how someone else doxed Dark Ninja's dogs. And everybody in the chat right now is doxing Dark Ninja's dogs as we fucking speak.
We're gonna
Yeah, it was the
go
side
to the
house.
bathroom and
It was
call
the
her
side house.
little boy. I'm talking to Moody.
He already knows how to see and understand information.
I'm
You're a
talking to
box
Moody
cut
right
full
now.
of Canadians.
I'm
You're the
talking
dumbest
to Moody.
thing. I can't even take it.
Have
Jesus
another
Christ.
whippet. Moody.
Half of this debate is Nick just completely ignoring her, like what she's saying or answering any questions. She's just screaming, "You're a dumb, you're a dumb, you're a woman, you're a woman, you're a dumb, you're a dumb." And it's like, no wonder this guy could not stay loyal to his wife. No wonder this guy ran off like April, who he had made dependent on him and his drug connection. So you think that he'd have complete control because he apparently cannot exist with like women in the same room for any extended period.
Okay, have another whippet. He's not on whippets right now. Get over
not
it.
yet.
Drugs are cool.
Well, he left and came back.
Those messages were from October.
I texted her right after that, and I said, "I'm sorry. I really, truly thought it was public knowledge." She said,
Yes.
"It wasn't. It's okay." But you know what? I'd do it again. Want to know why? Because if it got her out of that up situation, living
All right,
next
so
door
the
to
ends
him,
justify the
then I don't.
Yeah, okay. So, well, Melton, maybe you don't bring up Dan's justifying the memes because ends justifying the memes just because I'm pretty sure Melton has some comments where he talks about the like therapeutic value of child porn or something. So like, you're not it, bud.
I don't care. I'm glad.
I just gave her a free place to live until she got on her feet, you dummy.
Yeah, and waiting for you to call her and come over when Kayla went to the grocery store.
Carl's like on a band practice.
You
Yeah,
realize I was in a relationship.
Kayla stepped out for a second. Come over and phone me.
through
That makes
November.
Cal feel good.
Wow, that is crazy. This claim. I mean, that had to have been how it worked, though. Like this sounds completely plausible that that's how it worked. Is that he would wait for Kayla to leave and then just like rotate them in and out.
Yeah, I'd do it again. I'm glad she's out of there.
I know calendars are difficult.
You've changed your point again.
I
Vicky.
am
Like,
so
I mean, that's why he's getting so mad. Is because this is a woman doing this to him.
glad I
40
did
minutes
it.
ago.
Moody,
Okay,
yeah.
fine. But
Yeah, all these guys on the panel are eternally. Well, don't say that because then it implies that when Melton has like underage. Well, if Melton was to ever be legally prosecuted for the things that he defends online, he will claim that he's also underage. So.
minutes ago, you said you didn't dox her because it was public knowledge about her living in the side house, and now
I
you're
just
saying
didn't realize that it wasn't. I thought that's what you were saying. Maybe I wasn't listening.
And now you're saying that you didn't realize, and on some streams or a little bit afterwards, you texted her and you apologized about that fact.
Immediately after I texted her.
Right. So then why
I said
40
I thought it
minutes
was
ago?
public knowledge.
Why did you 40 minutes ago say that it was public knowledge beforehand?
Because it was. It was literally on Kiwi Farms. It was 100% public knowledge.
Maybe I misunderstood and I apologize. To get out of there so you could call her to come and bone you for 2 minutes.
Moody with the details, man.
I think
He's always got
longer
the
than 2
details.
minutes.
2 minutes. Interesting.
Keanu.
So doxing's okay.
When was the last
women
time
abuse
No,
is
it's not okay. No,
Sharing
doxing
text
is
is
doxing.
okay.
I'm sorry.
Drugs
People
are
You know, it's funny that Nick is having this stand against doxing now, considering that he had Josh Moon on like 3 times to his show and agreed with Josh's like ethical. Josh has like a whole thing about doxing. He has a whole argument about like when you draw the line. Basically, to sum it up, he says that it's okay if you're using publicly accessible information. It's not okay if you have to like hack anything or break any laws. That could be a whole stream debating about how like whether that is a good distinction or not. But the point is that Nick had him on like 3 times and agreed with his distinction. And by that distinction, even if Keanu did do what they're claiming, it still wouldn't be doxing under that formulation.
When was the last time you talked to her? What's the last date?
Come on, you guys are being such birthdays. People were posting maps of your
Yeah, no, exactly. She's right. Yeah, on Kiwi Farms, they had reconstructed the entire interior of the house because she had posted so many pictures.
You take accountability, you dumb bitch. You do it. Try it.
I am.
Wow, Nick Rekieta screaming at someone to take accountability. Just Keanu.
I am. I doxed her and I do it again.
This would be like if Ralph tried to do an intervention, like a drug intervention on someone.
I didn't do it. I didn't do it. Well, maybe I did it.
I doxed
When's
her
the
and I
last
do it
date
again.
you
I do
talked
it
to
100
her?
times again if it keeps
When
her
is
away
the
from you,
last
you red-faced
date?
little fuck. Okay?
When is the last date you talked to her? When is it?
Would you like me to? I mean, I have to look back.
He's
The
like
last-
the 27th. I think. We already established this.
What is that?
That's what I said October
I
27th.
think it's,
Again, Keanu.
My problem, Kiki.
Moody,
Whoa, did that ever get resolved? When was the last time she texted them?
Moody, I must have misspoke. So I guess okay. The only reason I thought that I didn't was because.
Bitch, why are you
Not-
lying? What is
not
wrong
then.
with you?
I'm not talking about then, red face. Just hang on.
You
I'm
just
talking
said
about. I'm talking for as your mistress, and I didn't realize it wasn't.
with her.
She wasn't my mistress. She was just my extramarital girlfriend. Like, this is literally Ralph. This is literally when Ralph said that like the prostitute was a potty girl and not a prostitute. Just you're gonna carry that weight, bro.
Didn't realize it wasn't confirmed. That's what I mean when I say I didn't dox her. But I
What
suppose
was
I
the
did.
date you last spoke with her? Look it up. I know calendars are hard.
At a traffic stop. and I asked her about her whole life, and I asked.
It wasn't a
about-
traffic stop. It was a red light. We got to stop calling it a traffic stop.
When was the last time you spoke with her? You said you could look it up. Look it up.
Would you like me to look?
Yes, I would like you to do it.
Had a phone call with
Play a
her.
clip. Play a clip.
But wait, first, Moody, or no?
Okay, I don't care about the traffic
I'm going to
stop.
try to say
Just
this
come on.
by to protect April. You need to.
I want to see the
bring down
Whippets on screen. I know that our friend here is saying it doesn't happen, but if we all believe, if we all have faith, we can move mountains. We can move the Whippet into frame retroactively. Crazier things have happened,
and therefore the ends.
No, I don't. I don't.
Somehow more High Elves were killed in the Somerset Isle than lived before the war. Like, if that can happen, this can happen.
Ends, can you hear? The ends justify the means, and that's why you're saying things like it's good. I would dox her again. I would dox this woman over and over again if it got her out of that. Like you're thinking that the ends justify the means, and I'm saying
these are the last guys I want to hear talk about the ends justifying the means.
Checked in your brain. I think you'd be an absolutely horrible villain of a person, and I really
You
don't
think that, but you didn't.
You asked. No,
Moody,
stupid
you
retard.
didn't.
Moody, you know why you're wrong?
Moody,
Because you assume she followed any logical chain at all.
Moody,
She can't.
and we talked on the phone for weeks. Okay.
Right.
I am glad
not
she's
right,
not.
but okay.
She's not there. Yes, it is.
Right.
No,
Would
it
you
isn't.
like
Yeah,
my
of
phone?
course, it's better
Good,
she's
I'm
not
glad.
there.
one of her
Moron.
Nick, along
She said
the way of her exiting from the house, directly based on your actions, the things that have happened is she got doxxed, her abuser.
Yes,
learned
Carl's
about
Good, I'm
her
glad. Good, I'm glad.
One of her,
Well, not just her abuser, but according to Nick, her beater, like who physically beat him.
one
That
of
was
her
Nick's
abusers
words.
learnt of her learnt of the situation that she's living in, and he started to gloat. And someone that she trusted, i.e., you, started to leak these private information. So one of her pillars of support.
Are all these guys Nick's ball? Well, okay, so it's complicated. Yes, like on the face of it, yes, but it's also very clear that they're just using Nick because Nick is like Lucifer is like in Paradise Lost, like still falling down through the firmament. These guys are trying to like suck up as much of his like goo before he gets all the way down to the ninth circle and then is frozen for all time. So the minute like Rekieta is no longer useful to them, they will go back and try to suck someone else's goo. Can we get a quick rundown? So like I said, this Keanu Bish is married to Gino Bisconte, who is related to this whole sector, this whole what they call the Dabbleverse, which are basically a bunch of people trying to be Anthony Cumia Walkers 20 years after he was relevant. And she had an OnlyFans. She's also Eskimo sisters with her mom. Just type in that term in Kiwi Farms in the Nick Rekieta thread and read that post if you want to it's really gross. But basically I have no reason to defend her, so I'm not going to. But the only reason she's part of the story is because she was apparently in contact and personal friends with April and Imholte. And that's why she has these text messages, and that's why they're debating about I texted April last. No, I texted April last.
Turned on her, essentially.
Sometimes
and even worse, ran back to her ex-husband and is like buddy now.
Yeah, man. I'm not going to... I need 20 subs, and I'll read the sisters post on stream.
Sometimes you have to
shred online.
And it's like
You're not buddy. You're not buddy with Aaron.
I recognize Aaron's foibles as well, and I'm glad April's away from him
foibles.
too. Yeah. Okay.
I just don't.
He's a literal criminal multiple times
You're a
over for harassing people.
This is what I'm saying, Kiki. Like you've hurt April. Like there's no doubt about it. You have hurt her.
How? Keanu, this is bullshit. How has Keanu hurt April? She didn't dox her. That's bullshit, and we've already explained why. All she's done is talk about how like Nick Rekieta is abusing her and be very judicious about like what she actually leaks. Like, if anything, what I want for her is just go full bore and leak everything. But she hasn't because she's trying to be at least sort of a good friend. And again, I don't want to defend this lady, but this is just I don't like the term, but for lack of a better term, like gaslighting by these three guys.
You're saying now.
I know I have. Absolutely.
What you're saying now is I'm glad I hurt her.
Why is she admitting that?
Because it saved her. That's what I'm.
Keanu,
that's the interpretation that I was giving you before. That you think that the ends justify the means. That you need to hurt April.
Nick will never look human again. Well, yeah, that's because you take on the physical form of the contents of your soul. So he will slowly turn into Grimace / Oompa Loompa / a zombie / whatever.
Expose her to some very dangerous people in order to get her out of that situation, but you're not recognizing that you actually did hurt her or did wrong things.
So
sometimes you should judge a book by its cover, is what I'm saying. Not all the time, but more than they say.
So should she still be living next door and
January, you
cry her eyes out?
You didn't do it. You just hurt her. You didn't save her. You're not a hero. You didn't do any of that. She stayed in properties that either I or my family owned through January.
my family. So now we're getting back. Wow, look. This is him right in front of Aaron right before it happens, right before what happens in the text that he dropped happens. So his family, that's referring to the fact that his house and the adjoining property, which is where April was staying for a time, were owned by the Philip Lord Trust, which is his family's trust.
January.
Bitch, she's calling me on the phone,
No, she wasn't.
hyperventilating.
She called
Yes,
you the last time on October 27th. Or
you're
will you look
insane.
it up?
You're insane. I was at a show. I was about to go. I was after God said, "I will call you back."
Look
She
it
was
up.
hyperventilating.
What
She was
date was it, you dumb
hyperventilating.
thing?
Would you like me to go through my phone records right now? Because I will. Or is it a waste of time?
Asking you for hours now.
Hyperventilating.
Yes, go through the phone records. What date was it, dummy?
So hot hoes have beautiful souls. Some of them, yes. In fact, attractive people actually tend to have higher IQs. The idea that like unattractive like people, both women and men, are dumber is not borne out in statistics.
Oh, I think you're angry because you're just confused. Maybe.
Now here's the thing, you got to make the distinction. You say hot hoes. Hot hoes don't have beautiful souls, but attractive women can. See, the term is hoes there, right? And that's like a content. That's like a conduct thing. And what happens when you're a hoe for 20 years? Do you look good by the end of it? No. But you know what will always look good, regardless of how old you are? A woman with 400 grandkids. Because they have like a small army that uplifts them.
Maybe she wasn't telling you she was talking to me.
She told me every day she talked to you. You moron. I have the text messages. What date was it?
What was the day that she was hyperventilating about how you blamed her for missing her your drug test?
What day was it?
It was a day I had a comedy show or night. It was an evening, and I talked to her for hours.
I'm able to narrow that down to 1 or 2 days last year.
The last call you made.
You, Aaron,
Fuck
Gino.
you. I can go back and look.
Pick up your phone, type in April, and find out what the last
Yeah, she should show this, and if she doesn't, then it's tough.
call was. You.
I'll admit this. She's allowed this conversation to be redirected to being about whether Nick had permission to drop all of the worst texts at a public live event to when was the last time Keanu talked to April, which shouldn't really be relevant, but...
Dope. This isn't hard.
I mean, I have extensive text and phone calls from her. What
What's
would
the
you like
last
to do
one?
know?
That's it. What's the last one? It's the easiest question on earth. What is it? What's the
The
last
last
one?
phone call or
When's the last one? When's the last time I didn't have a mistress? She was just my wife's girlfriend's, my girlfriend's boyfriend's former wife.
last text
Both.
message?
Hammer us with all of the knowledge. Both of them. It doesn't matter. Just say what they are.
The last time we texted.
Bing, bing, bing.
I'm sorry. There's a lot. There's a lot of them.
The bottom one.
It's the bottom one. The last one.
January.
Pwned. Okay, raped. So, remember Nick said that the last time he talked to April was January. So if we're doing this stupid dick measuring contest about who was the last one to talk to April, they are now on equal footing. Great job.
Brother Marier.
Really? Was
Kiki,
it
you gotta shut up. Kiki, you gotta shut up. You're ruining our brand. Real quick. Carl,
Regine, I missed
in this
you.
trash can. It's really good for a second.
Who the fuck is this Gino? This is how little I know. Is this Gino Bisconte? This is who she married? I mean, I guess she's just as like beat, you know, in like a metaphysical, or people don't like when I use that term, in a spiritual sense as him. Why does it look like he's streaming from like my streamer bunker? Like, what is this?
Your house, your office, anything, wherever you need to throw things out. Kiki, I love you, but you sound like an idiot. Please. All right, I gotta go.
Nick is actually a rabid goblin. If only Worski could be disanimated, the case he might actually. So fucking true, man. So fucking true. If Worski was back on the Coco and was doing shit like this, and was like doing Whippets on stream to the point where it made him fight with PPP every stream over all the crazy shit both of them have said about each other, it would only last a couple episodes, but it would finally make the show worth watching. And you know what else it would do? It would make the show shorter. Like I said, my super secret subversive content strategy is try to cover whatever the lead is, like the actual content of Kino Casino, before they get out of the beg segment. But they wouldn't even have a beg segment. It would just be pure content if they were both back on the Coco.
Bye, Gino.
Bye, Gino.
I thought he was in LA. Thank God. January 1st.
He's still on. Holy shit. We're giving away everything here. We've got El Horrible mugs. You need a selfie stick that can go double as a tripod.
Okay, I don't care
Gino's
what this
got it.
freaking
Oh, great.
like Turkish bazaar salesman has to say.
So when you were demanding a date of when he got approval for the text, it wasn't a
I
problem.
didn't know
Now
you could do
can't
that.
produce.
I'm glad to tell you. Sure.
I'm not surprised at all that you didn't know how to do that.
I should take Worski's chair. Dude, that would be the Oblivion compact. That's like, dude, well, no, he is on the Coco. He's just not on the Coco on the show. That's the problem. It's the worst of both worlds. You still get the drug addiction and the like collapse, but you don't get any of the Kino. And again, Ralph, at least when Ralph falls off the wagon, he makes sure we all know about it, right? You know, and it makes at least Kino. Yeah, as far as taking Worski's share, that would literally be like the Oblivion compact with the devil.
That's
because it just, I'm telling you, dude.
Surprising thing you've said today.
It would be so bad. It would be so bad because the sort of shit that I would want to do would make Ashton very uncomfortable because I would want there to be like fights every stream and just eternal IBS and all this. And he would have to like actual do prep and we would actually have a schedule and we would have to treat it like a real job and it just would not happen.
Rocco's still
just being rude.
Yes. Yes.
You go and take, I mean, well, I clicked on April Imholt. Now, walk me through it, lawyer. Tell me. I see what am I supposed to click that says where's the last
call
record?
It's just there's a call history when you click on the number. Do you not know how to use a phone?
No, if
it was a plan, right? Yeah, it was, dude.
No, if I click on the number, it'll call her.
Bing, bing, bing.
Belford again award.
What do you want me to do? The last phone call we had. Maybe I her all the time, and it would make April feel like shit. You would have April come over, and when she would leave the house, have sex with her, and then send her back next door.
So this is the third time she's made that claim. This is a crazy claim that Nick has had no response for.
Do I need to say more? Are we done here?
Are you done?
Are we done here? He's calling me hyperventilating, you dumb piece of shit.
No, let him talk, because he's going to give a nuclear cope here. I can already tell.
Just read it to you that you two, both of you, that you were going to leave your wife and she was waiting for it.
That is crazy. He has to disprove that or else it's so bad that was ever said between them that he would leave his wife.
Was waiting for it.
Yes,
you kept telling her you were going to leave your
women
wife.
are.
You kept telling her you were going to leave your wife and she's hyper.
No, I told her I couldn't leave my
well,
wife.
that's not what
that didn't sound convincing, but
the text messages I have, would you like to see those?
Yes,
no.
drop everything.
Get redder in the face. Get redder in the face. What do you want?
I'm wearing a red shirt. Do you understand how cameras work?
Does this look like a red shirt to you, or does this look like a periwinkle? No, periwinkle's blue, right? It's a purple shirt, and then and you know she's calling him red in the face. That's fine, whatever. I just think it's more of a purple. I think it's a Ralphian sort of passed out on Zanny's type grimace Oompa Loompa purple.
Right.
It's the Imperial purple.
I know that you were going to leave her for April. Is that what you told her?
I told this story earlier today.
It's just going great.
Yes, I told it on this show.
You said that I told April
You're like
I was
talking to
going
a
to leave my wife.
corpse.
Did he just say you're talking to a corpse? Was that a Freudian slip?
I told it on this show.
You said that I told April
You're like
I was
talking
going
to a
leave my wife.
corpse.
Oh, you're like talking to a corpse. Okay.
I told the story that I told April I was going to leave my wife when I had
No, I told April I would never leave my wife for her, and when I thought that Kayla was going to divorce me, and I was
Whoa! Oh no! Oh no! Why would you confirm that? Why would she be thinking of divorcing you unless there was a conversation about you leaving her for April? You didn't have to. Well, I'm glad you did, but that's so funny.
massively
Then
depressed.
you were going to be with April.
Yes.
Real quick,
No.
Paul Shea and everybody
Yes. Wait. So he just confirmed it. What?
at Town
that
Square
confusing
Media
to you?
is loving this. They are loving
Hey,
this.
Paul. Hey, Town Square.
Why is this confusing to you? Yes,
She
as my
tried
marriage
to
was.
say that, like, he keeps saying that he's going to leave his wife, he's going to leave Kayla, and
No.
you know,
Jesus
that's
Christ.
what she said. That's what she said. I have the text. Would you like to see them? I'll play them at
No,
Does this look like a man who's confident? It's looking a man who's confident with his like marriage or anything. It's like the fact that this Keanu, like an extremely unreliable narrator, just her saying this makes you freak out. I think it's a combination of obviously it's all true, and he just has a thing with women.
I don't want you to expose her text anymore. What is wrong with you?
What's wrong with you? I saw her at a traffic light.
I did. What do you want? I mean, I live in the same town, you dumb bitch. What is so hard about this? Like, you're like talking to a box cart full of rocks.
Sorry that you told April that you were going to leave
If
Kayla,
you listen carefully, box carts full of rocks can talk to you. They just don't speak English.
and that
No, what I told April was, I think Kayla is leaving me.
so what April told me.
Oh, okay. So that's so much better, dude. So you weren't conniving to leave her with April. You just had a girlfriend in case you pushed your wife to the point of leaving you so that you would have a backup. Okay. So basically, Rekieta's point here is I'm actually more conniving. I wasn't going to just confront my wife and say, we need to figure this out. I was just going to push her so that she does it so that I can shit on her in the public space and then already have like the replacement lined up. Great.
I don't care what April told you.
Apparently.
I told her because I
Clearly
actually had
you
that
don't.
message.
Keep going, little man. That's fine. Have her come over. Oh wait, she can't because I doxed her and she had to leave. Good.
Yeah, and again, she moved into my parents' house.
Based. Okay, why didn't she start with that position?
What is wrong with you?
Yeah, I did dox her, bitch.
What's wrong with you?
Lots. I got arrested. I got my
Clearly.
kids taken away.
Wow. You just got, how did you just get like double reverse proxy checkmated by that, the oldest trick in the book, which is know you, then admits to all of his crimes? Like, how is this guy ever a lawyer? Like, I mean, the way we know is that he never actually did anything. He was never, I don't think, there's no way Baldo like was ever in a trial, ever had to cross-examine witnesses or anything, because this is just like.
But what you did was intentionally shred someone that you called a friend. You put their life on display with the person who had been doing that to them for 6 months.
I don't have any of them.
She put her life on display? No, I think the person who at least first put her life on display was her husband, legal husband, Aaron, who would have her dress up like a bikini and show up on the show. Then the second person to put her on display after she left Aaron was you, who was flaunting her around as your not mistress, my romantic girlfriend, my wife's girlfriend, my boyfriend's girlfriend, right?
Also, this has to be doing wonders for Kayla's self-esteem.
Kayla knows that
he doesn't give a fuck about Kayla. He's never defended Kayla like this. I don't even want to say it's because, like, well, Kayla deserves. I mean, she deserves it in the sense he's her husband and he has a duty to. But like,
But it's not. Yeah, right.
my point is, I don't think Kayla is like a complete like a shrinking violet, innocent in all this either.
She was there. Do you think she doesn't know this? Talk to April was on the phone.
I went to her contact.
Okay, we're almost there.
Now Ozone's gonna think me and Keanu are friends because I'm.
But even if you
her.
find any call of hers, you can click on it and it'll show you a history of all the calls with her.
Or they might be a search.
Are we still on the fucking checking the phone?
My dick. Like, are you serious?
Okay, I have.
He was a lawyer, right?
I have. All right, November the 14th, 2024.
Outgoing or incoming? How long?
What,
Curious.
really? You know how long it took me to find that?
Well, now you should be good at it. You just did it.
Outgoing or incoming?
Yeah. And how long was it? How long was the call?
If I click on it, will it call her?
Well, there's a little I that's for information next to it. I think that's what gives you the.
Gee. Now we have to teach Keanu how to use a fucking phone. Oh my god.
No, all I see is a phone. All I see is a phone thing on it.
This is an L. Keanu, like, come on.
Is the phone? Is there an arrow pointing away from the phone thing? Or
why not just call her? Wait, why would they say that? Just call.
The phone.
Is it green?
Other than that, who cares? He won't go to jail, and if he does, then based, I guess. I don't care about, like, I don't live in this community. It's not my job to ensure that their law enforcement does anything. I'm not like, oh, how does it personally affect you type guy. I do believe that, like, the maintenance of civilization is a collective effort. But as a person of the audience who is detached from all this, from personal stakes, I just kind of want the most entertaining show possible, which necessarily involves Rekieta actually not going to jail. It involves Rekieta whippet maxing and doing more shit like this.
Green or red?
Outgoing call. It was 3 minutes. I wouldn't lie to you.
So you called her in November.
Yeah.
Right.
And that would be right. But we have texted since then. So I mean, a
Now,
little
3
bit.
minutes
Not
after
much.
she
Not much.
unloaded on you
Not
about
much.
everything that happened.
We've got.
I
clips
did
being
leave. I
extended
drove my
shows,
kid and then I
Jackie.
came back. How?
Any social perspective.
Yeah, well, you know, so
I
he was
wouldn't.
pissed
That
that she was saying that she.
And he's now complaining that he would drug her and steal her money. So he sounds like a great guy.
Jesus Christ, months. So
Yeah,
does that make sense, Jackie? I'm genuinely asking you. Does that make sense?
But did you try to warn anybody else after you dated him about him?
Okay. I had.
Okay, so this is like interrogating her about supposedly some abusive acts. I literally don't care about this.
Like talking to the New York Post about it or whatever. It was just that
And
subject.
literally all this is just happening to weaken her. So he's on Whippets confirmed. Yeah. I mean, that's. Are you serious? I mean, maybe you just don't know, but yeah, there's like 4 separate non-circumstantial, like the direct evidence is Keanu says that April told her that was on Whippets in order to essentially get out of the drug tests, and she's just confirmed that she does have texts with her. Now you could say that Keanu's lying. The problem is multiple other things Keanu has claimed regarding like where April is, the status of April's relationship with Rekieta have been independently verified. So that would have to be the only lie. So that's number one reason why he's on Whippets. There's multiple times in this debate where he comes back on and it looks like he's putting something down and his like voice is different, which also seems to indicate Whippets. And I'm pretty sure, don't quote me on this, I'd have to check again, but there are some claims about Hackamania that there's either someone who saw him doing Whippets or talking about Whippets. The other thing is that Whippets just fit a very perfect cross-section of drugs for him to be doing, because we know he's not sober. It's pretty obvious that Rekieta's not sober, but he was doing drug tests. He missed one, which he admits to in this debate. But the thing about Whippets is obviously it's undetectable by drug tests, and it's like the closest thing he could be doing to get the sort of high to replace the other things he was doing. We also know that he was drinking even during the drug test, because he himself admitted on Twitter saying that he was only 30 days sober as of, I think, 2 weeks ago.
Jack is like, I don't mean to cry. Everybody don't like
But why? How come when April alleges physical abuse, you don't?
There's that third world aristocrat video I played at the beginning of this, at the beginning of the stream, and that does go through, I think, line by line, like the Whippet arc.
Choked up.
Because there's so much going on with her. I have to go off of what she told me. I have to go off of. I don't want her
why
around.
not?
Do you
Those
understand?
Support her. Like, could you just try that one?
Those texts.
How about you not being a piece of shit to her?
But those texts are from a time 1 year into their relationship where she wasn't on drugs and she wasn't clouded. Those are texts to another woman who would sympathize, having been through the same thing with Aaron. So how come you're able to overlook all that?
Yeah, this is just bullshit. This whole arc where they're making her like relive her experience with abuse because it's somehow related to Rekieta, when the only person, like, Rekieta started this debate by calling Aaron a wife beater. So why does Keanu pressing Rekieta about what he's done to April have anything to do about her previous abuse? Like, this is just retarded.
How come?
What that stuff makes you retarded or dead? Yeah. I played a song at the beginning of this stream, and then the Whippet explanation, and the only people we saw doing Whippets didn't have the same skin color as Nick. I'll say that.
Something different then.
I'm talking about the time when she wasn't on drugs, when those texts were from 2022.
That Aaron agreed with on his show.
That's what I'm saying. But she has said, didn't they get served with that harassment restraining order when they were at your house?
Wife breaking up with her boyfriend, with her husband, and that's why she's lying.
Dishonest.
That's
not
what I said.
Honest.
All of this is irrelevant. All this shit about Keanu's previous is literally just a false flag to get off of the actual topic here, which is what is Rekieta's current relationship with April, and confirmation about whether there was some weird wife swap plan.
What's wrong with you?
What types of physical abuse are okay with you, Kiki? Is like, please.
And they weren't angry texts. They didn't even sound angry. They were calm.
And I guess the other thing that might be related to this is whether Aaron was physically abusive, because Nick Rekieta has changed his position 3 times in this debate. He started out by saying he's a wife beater, okay? So explicitly physical. Then, well, I meant emotional abuse, right? And then now it seems to be we're going back to physical.
His ex-wife was the one that called him a monster first in the HRO itself.
Does he have an okay relationship with Ashley then?
You don't claim to know, though. You are claiming to know that they have a good relationship.
Has been caught lying about it.
Question.
I'm mad at you.
Anymore. That's fine. That's fine. But I'm glad she's.
Yeah, you also support the person who commit a crime against my wife. I hate you.
You support a person who committed a crime against my wife. Hold on.
Anymore. That's fine. That's fine. But I'm glad she's.
Yeah, you also support the person who commit a. You don't know, right? Like, you don't understand this. I know it's really hard, but you don't know. You just have Aaron's word that they have a good relationship now, and they're so super awesome.
Okay, but we only have your word that you have a good relationship with April. In fact, we have direct contradictory evidence that that's not true from other people like Keanu. What is this? Like, how is she falling for this? Like, I mean, I understand how, because, I mean, look at this panel. This is like the 5 IQ panel, like, between all of them. But I just...
Co-parenting. That's all you have. You don't talk to Ashley. Don't pretend that you know.
Do you?
Also, why would it matter? Why are they saying that... all these people, like, half of their content is just shitting on Aaron. Why are they pretending like they're on Aaron's side? They're not. Let's say that all the accusations about Aaron are, like, true. I don't think these people would defend him.
No, I don't claim to know, though. You are claiming to know that.
No, you did just claim to know. You claimed to know about the abuse.
No, I asked a question. I asked a question.
No, why did they
just asking a question, guys?
This shit all the time.
It was a loaded question.
The question implies knowledge.
I asked a question.
You asked, why do they have a good relationship?
Yeah, it's called a leading question. Again, Rekieta, if you had ever actually practiced as a lawyer, you would understand that in cross-examination, you always ask leading questions.
Lawyers a good relationship for the question to make sense.
Right. It's loaded.
Well,
it's not hard. This is basic English.
All right.
You have English as a half language. It's embarrassing. Like, Jesus Christ, woman.
You're so mad that that she can't.
I am mad at you.
Anymore. That's
for
fine.
what? Like, actually, for what? I from what I understand, she's not like denying Aaron's abuse. She might be like trying to qualify it. She didn't dox April. That whole thing was a total nothing burger, and is equivalent to saying that Nick Rekieta doxed Dark Ninja's dogs, right? What else? What else can we actually throw at her here other than having an OnlyFans, not wanting kids, and being dumb?
Fine. fine. That's fine. But I'm glad she's.
Yeah, you also support the person who commit a crime against my wife. I hate you. I literally hate you. Why wouldn't I? You're disgusting.
You know who else committed a crime against their wife? It's you, Nick. Like you, in most of American and world history, adultery was a crime, and you have like admitted you are willing to admit your adultery, long-term, ongoing, knowing adultery in this stream, so that you can prove what exactly? That Keanu isn't as good of friends with April as you are? Your mistress. Go off, King.
You think it was fine. You laughed within the back.
Yeah, Nick hates crime. All of these guys on this. Yeah, I know. I said this in the last Rekieta video where it's like, you know, when the police showed up to his house, he was just like, I am a victim of the coercive power of the state. You patriots activate to free me. I'm a political prisoner. Free me like Nelson Mandela. And now he's like, I'm going to report the nanny for stealing $100 in alcohol, and also this person committed a crime against my wife by having sex with her consensually while I watched.
$50, right, you dumb bitch? Why should I love you? You should be thrown. I don't like you at all.
That doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
I
You
thought
are
you did a post
garbage.
for it. Yeah, it's gross.
It is crazy that they have to bring out the entire Baldo Brigade just to put down this like half-witted OnlyFans thought.
How many times have I said that was gross? How many times have I said it was gross?
Such a post for
Jesus
it.
Christ.
We did. No. Nick likes to say that she had no knowledge of that photo.
Yes,
low down, dirty, and disgusting for him to have said that to Gino. I have said that 100 times.
It doesn't
matter. You know what happened if I didn't say it.
Okay, so they're talking about, I don't know why I didn't say this. When he says the crime, what he's referring to is that Aaron supposedly disseminated revenge porn by sending a picture of Kayla to Gino. Okay, here's the thing. Such a picture would never exist if Nick did not have an open relationship with his wife in a giant polycule. Because think about it, why would Aaron have ever had it if Nick did not like allow his house to basically fall into anarchy on his own agency? So I'm not saying that's like a legal argument, but if we're going to be like screaming morals at each other about how it's so immoral that you're supporting this, it's like the person who supported the crime being committed against Kayla, the one who brought that evil into the world, is literally Nick. If Nick had just done the basics of being in a marriage, then Aaron never would have had that picture to begin with. It's not like it was sent to Aaron as a mistake. It's not like Aaron took it without consent off of Kayla's computer, much like Nick took stuff without Aaron's consent off of his. And I'm not like saying Aaron's a good guy or anything, or that he didn't like technically fulfill the elements of revenge porn. It is also funny that he got away with that as a $50 fine and that Nick acknowledges that, because it's like, look at how much he's willing to scream and spurg out over the mere implication that he's not best buddies with April. But the idea that his wife's honor is only worth $50 doesn't get anything.
Because I thought it was fucking disgusting. Because I thought it was disgusting for him to send it to you. I thought it was gross.
No,
yes,
he bragged
Nick,
about
you love
it.
to say,
He bragged
Nick, you
about
love
it
to say,
Gino.
Nick, you
We
love
saw
to
it
say,
happen. It was on the news.
You love to, no, because nobody would have ever known that happened if I didn't say it.
Yes, I thanked you for it.
Okay, whatever.
It doesn't matter.
Showed me, he's like,
He
what the
wasn't
fuck?
repulsed.
Okay, so he left.
Like,
All right.
He needed to feel like a man.
That's it.
Oh wait, no, he didn't. I'm
Out of
sorry,
his
I'm
life.
stupid.
Everyone knew, but it was
Guys,
Aaron,
Aaron, he's just a man who was out of his life.
I am not
and he needed to feel like a man.
Also, it's okay. All men do
Again, why are they pretending like Keanu's defending Aaron? All these people hate Aaron.
this. It's not a big deal. He
Right.
hasn't learned anything. Yeah, but
Acknowledge or consent, you dummy. That's it. That's the end of the story.
It was no thing to send. It's a terrible thing to send. That's why I
Terrible thing to take without asking, you dummy. What is wrong with you?
Yeah, well, you know what else is terrible? To invite another man into your home and have your wife send him pictures and then eat his goo. I think that's actually like worse, honestly. And none of this would have happened if you had not said yes to that. Like if you're going to be, okay, if you're going to be this Christian man and you're going to believe in male headship of the house, everything that occurs, ultimately the buck stops with you, Nick. And you can't have it both ways. You can't claim headship. You can't say that it's your responsibility to like defend this or do or get into this fight for whoever the fuck's honor if you do not take responsibility for what occurs. And ultimately, every single thing that has happened to your wife, all the stuff that you're talking about, the revenge porn, whatever, occurred because you made a decision.
It was disgusting.
How dare you? Doesn't matter what she's doing. Do you understand how knowledge or consent work?
Knowledge or consent. You're wrong. I've never reported Melton for
bullshit.
I got your Twitter.
Well, you shouldn't report Milton. I'm not going to watch this part because I don't care. I don't like, obviously I made the Carl Jobs video criticizing him being a flaggot, and weaponizing flagging is gay. And I don't know what her claim is exactly for the flagging. She shouldn't be flagging people.
Photo was posed for, or
I feel like Melton's going to get like a divine judgment sort of answer to him. I don't think you need to do the flags.
Wasn't posed for, it was a sneaky shoot.
It's also funny too, because I'm pretty sure Melton flags anybody who looks at his, like, this might get, well, it's not going to, because there's only like 2 bots watching this, but according to Alyssa Clips, Melton flags like anyone who re-uploads like a single, like any of his streams. So I don't want to hear it from this guy.
It's a disgusting thing to do. I agree.
Like I said in the Carl Jobs video, with flag it you lose.
Kayla could have taken the photo of herself and sent it to him with the expectation.
But that's what happened. Kayla did take the photo and send it to Aaron because Nick decided to have an open relationship, which is why I say that ultimately Nick is what smuggled this evil into the world.
That it remains private. The crime happened when he shared it with Gino live on air.
And I thought it was
yes, the crime happened, but not like, again, the crime is a result of a moral evil that was incepted long before any of the elements of the crime occurred.
Absolutely
sentencing.
Right. You said you and Gino thought it was, you said you and Gino thought it was gross. He was grossed out immediately, and I've just told you he doesn't share private nudes with me.
Okay, so he did leave again. How many times has he left? Like 4 times?
Stupid.
I don't make that joke. I mean,
the worst part is no one can tell if you're playing.
Hold on, I want to see if he does the whippets.
Paying for it.
I don't make that joke. I mean,
the worst part is no one can tell if you're playing dumb or not because
he looks like his mugshot there. Look at that.
Joke.
The worst part is no one
he's like frozen on his mugshot. That's funny.
You can tell if you're playing dumb or not because you're so stupid.
You
right, but your husband didn't.
Wait, did he just drop in, scream, and leave? This is like the gayest like. You realize every single time he rage quits like that, it counts as an L. It counts as a like total debate L on his IBS fight chart. Okay, like if this is like the UFC.
He did.
So there's like 6 L's just in this stream.
He's enjoying life. Why do you keep leaving?
One of the things I don't understand.
Whoa, look at him.
Have another.
Because he said it's online.
He said
it wasn't a big deal.
I think we got him.
He's not that white. He's red.
Have another whippet.
He's not the shit.
Call me
I was
so big.
Why do you keep leaving?
One of the things I don't understand
right?
is how you can, after what we've heard over the last few hours, call yourself.
Look at him. He is fiending.
A defender of women when you've said things like, I can get over things, some types of physical abuse are okay, we can let these things go.
Moody, do not put words in my mouth. No, Moody, do not put.
I'm not even listening to them. I'm just watching him because I'm trying to see if there's anything.
I said all of those words.
You think I said those words? That some types of physical abuse are okay? No. Do not misunderstand me. Do not misunderstand.
This guy knows what I said when I was a kid. Like, are you kidding me? You think you just
words? Tell me which of those words you didn't say. Tell me which ones, and I'll tell you.
I did not say that.
Leaves to do another whippet. Okay, hold on. What they're debating at this point, it doesn't even fucking matter. They're debating about how much Keanu supports or doesn't support domestic abuse, despite her being a victim of it. It's just like total brain melt shit. Okay, here we go. This is the real content, boys.
Man.
Right, so that's why you reported it. I never posted new photos of you. I don't have them.
Okay, oranges and apples, man.
Dude, look at him. He's just like, yeah, let's go.
Right, so that's why you reported it.
I didn't, though.
The rule I violated.
Dude, I just didn't. I just didn't. Yeah.
When is Rekieta gonna move on to meth? Like, for real. If he just wants like an upper like that and he wants it to, yeah, I don't know. And it's cheaper too, you'd think.
Listen with your brain. The rule I violated was posting photos, which I didn't do, without the person's consent. So the only person.
Again, I'm literally not even listening. I'm just staring at Rekieta here. I'm trying to will into existence him put it like he's gonna pull it up and just show it right at the camera.
Who could report that is the person whose consent I didn't have.
I do believe.
Suck
my. I remember doing it, and I am very forthcoming. Look, I just said I'm not like flip flopping. I'm just saying if I did that, then good.
See my screen.
How is that okay for you to? You want to?
I didn't do it, but if I did it,
Sorry, I didn't know he was actually whipping. What a king.
Wasn't the same. Right. And then I did do it, and it was the right thing.
Then I'm glad. Good.
I know his ass is ingesting whippet.
Cool for him to post stolen.
Yeah, I know.
Online nude photos.
Yes.
Well, I also said that.
I don't remember too well.
I just didn't remember doing that to you. Honestly,
until the next day on your show when you went on there and taunted me.
He's just like his hands, like it's almost like meth or like Adderall or something. That's the other thing I suspect. There's got to be Adderall involved in here because like I'm pretty sure like a dead dog could get an Adderall prescription. Like it's they give them out like candy, right? And so
you don't need to think of you.
It seems like right up his alley, you know.
You know what? But the other day, people do it.
Nobody gives a. I didn't cry about it.
I'm sorry, I didn't remember doing. I'm not apologizing because if you
like, he's got that look. So obviously when you abuse stimulants, you don't sleep. You don't have real sleep. And he also drinks, which means that when he does sleep after drinking, that's not real sleep either. Like he doesn't get to REM sleep. And so he's like wired, right? But his body is exhausted. And that's why he gives off this like he's looking around, but then he also is like rubbing his face like he wants to fall asleep.
Then if I
Nobody wants to apologize. Nobody gives a I didn't cry about it.
Look at him. Look at him. Did you see him? He's like that's like almost coke. Like,
well, no, you're like, she got my Twitter taken down.
She
well,
did. This is the point. The point is this. I don't give a fuck about my Twitter. I never cried about that. The point is
okay. Hold on. Hold on. Instant replay.
Twitter taken down.
She did.
This is the point. The point is this. I don't give a fuck about my Twitter.
Oh no! He's trying to make sure we don't get another appeal stream where we see it on his nose.
I never cried about that.
That's
the point. Is this? You think that's revenge porn, but what happened to Kayla is not. You said.
Why does he do like the Patrick Tomlinson like look where he's got like his finger on his forehead?
Oh, I said wall.
PhD, master's degree.
A wall with a bunch of signs on it that say you're stupid. This is so simple.
Law
How
degree,
do you not get
PhD, master's
I need
degree.
a countdown until he leaves again to do another whippet. I need a countdown until it. But no, if I didn't say on that stream, how dare you send nude photos of Kayla to Gina?
I like how his response to being accused of doing whippets is to do a bunch of weird zooted whippet maneuvers. Like,
and I meant photo. No.
All right, we got one more. I think. Right. No? Was that it? Was that the last part? Our faith does not appear to have been strong. Oh no, here we go. Part 4. Okay.
You blamed Nick.
All right, everybody, put your drill together. Psychic energies. We're trying to change the past here and get him to pick up the whippet can and put it in front of the camera. All right. Now you may say, well, how can you change the past? How does that work? It's a non-linear, like temporal concept. I don't care. Just believe, and it'll occur.
One to get you guys into this mess. It's all Nick's fault that
no, I blame all. It should be. I never said
ingenuous, or if you're just
confused. She's just dumb.
Like, I don't know which of those two it is.
Okay.
Because facts aren't like you're being told information, and then that information is just
The problem is we're being told information by a guy who's been caught cheating, literally, I guess, but lying about everything.
In between it going through your ears, it's just disappearing. So either you're covering.
Yes. No, I think she's just using incredulous. That's the term you're looking for, but that's like too many syllables.
Yeah. You actually don't. You don't know. That's way different than someone taking a non-consensual.
It doesn't.
What I did, even if no copyright violation. Do it.
It's
copyright violation. My revenge porn was a copyright dispute, bitch. All right, I'm gonna find when he leaves and comes back because apparently that's when it occurs. Okay. Hold on. I saw something. Hold on. Okay, everyone, put your hands together. Let's go. Okay, so he leaves here, and he almost immediately comes back. Also, I'm sorry, I haven't been counting. Every time he leaves, that's an IBS full L, right? So we're at least, 5 or 6 now? Okay, here we go.
See him, he's fine.
Look at him. He's staring down. He's pondering the garden, guys. He's pondering the garden. Satan's offering him the bread. He's saying, I will make you Lord of this world. If you just take another whippet and do it on stream right now, you'll finally be able to pwn this OnlyFans hoe in this super important debate about whether the woman that I had sex with outside of marriage was my mistress or my girlfriend.
You said it 100 times. Say it one more.
Can you count to 100? Yeah. Prove it.
Checkmate! Count to 100, bitch! Count to 100! Let's go! Rekieta W! We did it! Reddit!
So why is Aaron okay to be a business partner with?
A business partner?
He has to be high. Come on. Anyone who is saying that this guy is not zooted right now, come on.
Yeah, you're flying out to his shows. You host his show for him when he's not here. Yeah, that's a business partner.
Okay, number one, I didn't think
he's trying to end it.
I'd be doing that alone. So you also
excuse money behavior that I'm bad. I'm a piece of shit. I know.
Yeah, can you imagine if she started? That would be base. That would be just... Wash me. She just starts counting and she refuses to stop. And once she gets around like 30, all these guys just start going quiet because they've just been screaming at her for like the last, 30 seconds or whatever. And then it's just silence as she gets to 100. That would have been like, Rekieta would have ended it right then and there. That's what would have been him pulling the whippet out. He would have been just like, that's the way it is.
Now figure out why you are a piece of shit, you dumb bitch.
He's an abusive, manipulative monster. That's
yes,
what,
everyone's an abusive, manipulative monster. Whatever. Let's see the whippet.
So are we gonna do your Twitter account or what?
Let's go.
We,
Do you let?
Oh, these are basic concepts. How is it so?
If Aaron.
No, I understand. I'm the villain.
Okay. What's going on here?
So let's try. Let's try again. Why do you
What's
think?
the question again, Moody? I know. I understand. I'm the villain.
There's something here, and it ain't hair. There's a little bit here. That ain't hair. That's what the coke does to you.
And I get it. I understand.
No.
38.
Okay, I don't actually think he was doing anything there, but he looks like it kind of.
Why do you
What's
think?
the question again, Moody? I know.
As an abuser in a business way.
Leaves, probably because he, whatever. All right.
Why
I
do you
don't
talk to your husband about it?
No, go ahead, Kiki.
Why can't you ask me a question?
I was making a joke. I'm sorry.
Let Kiki
But why
ask
make
I know, but it's one for about.
The reason you work. Hold on. You said the reason. We asked you what you're going to do now with that information. You
Go on his show.
said, and you're going to go do his anniversary. You're changing
The
life for Coke now.
And you
now you said I'm going to go ask.
He has left 3 times in just the last like 10 minutes of footage. We're up
Gino,
to
what
like
to do?
10 L's.
So would you like us? Gino, what? No.
What about?
I'll be like, yes. Sorry, I talked to my husband about that. Like, yeah, Gino, what?
He must be, dude. You can't like OD on. It's just oxygen deprivation. I guess you could suffocate, right?
Think of this.
And
No,
you-
my
you-
rational brain says no.
What about
You
the
asked
other
me-
part of your brain? Because I don't trust your rational brain for shit.
Okay.
No,
Just
the
saying,
answer to
it
that
is.
question wasn't. The answer to that question wasn't. Oh, let me go talk to my wife and
He
see
just
what she
told me
thinks before I
immediately.
make.
I'm
an
just
answer.
saying.
I answered immediately.
I'm
I
just
answered immediately.
fucking saying. I have to look
Dude,
at.
he literally looks like those guys that are in like the meth house in Breaking Bad when Jesse has to get in, and so he goes in the backyard and starts digging a hole, and he's just like, the meth head comes out and asks him, he's like, what are you doing? And then Jesse's like, you know what I'm doing, to like take advantage of the anxiety, the meth anxiety. He literally looks like one of those guys.
Into it. You want me to? You want
You
to?
want
look
to
into it.
You want to?
Every day. What is
trying to do better. Hold on.
Can I tell
You
you
said he's
something
trying to do
before?
better.
Please do not. I don't think this guy should be allowed to say Jesus Christ.
And we're crack whore. Do I like it? No, but is it that big of a deal?
It was a
Like,
response.
saying people are
We're all
crack
idiots,
whores?
I'm glad
What's wrong with
away
you?
from all of
It was a
We're all
response to your
idiots.
argument.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there is crack whorage in this ecosystem.
No, it was a response to your reasoning where you said, Aaron, how is that doing?
Friend of Coke
It's not trying to do better.
Again, I've gotten to the point where they've just repeated the same 3 things over and over again. I am just trying to find like rare Rikietas.
Just spit it
Nothing.
out.
Maybe they're on public people that don't want to talk about it. That's all.
Oh,
Months ago.
Yeah, she said,
Wow.
original argument. We
You
have
had
permission.
permission
on.
when she was high.
Yeah.
12 months ago.
Yeah, she said,
Wow.
April being very high. Do agree to. You're making that up too.
Yeah. Wow.
Look at
okay,
him.
she
But
gets
then, okay, so
Openly state she was high at the time. Like it's not
Yeah,
even
she
a
was on
question.
the-
You know,
Why
he
do you
does
touch her?
anything.
he probably like rips his hair out, dude.
right. So she was.
Oh, still.
From
I'm telling you
All right,
what she.
does he leave and
right
come
when
back
she was
again?
high, she told you that didn't happen. But when she was
All
sober,
right,
she said
so
it happened. So what do we?
everybody
How do
has ever
we?
said. Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, I know.
Because it's
Well, he's burning hot the last year. I mean, he was doing funny stuff before, like pretty crazy stuff, but he's kind of limit broken, like in DBZ the last year, and he's like, before he would occasionally go Super Saiyan. Now he just regularly goes Super Saiyan God, but it's like how Goku dies like 34 times. He dies every time, but he always comes back.
court documents.
Lied about this.
Like, what do you think this is? Like, do you think that you do drugs, you dummy? You do cocaine.
I'm just so happy we're back to this because this is probably as good as the appeal stream is pretty legendary. There's some, I'll say this, the appeal stream is more quotable. There's probably like 30 timeless quotes in that one. This one though is pretty entertaining just to see him turn into Grimace, just to see the Oompa Loompafication of Rekieta.
What are you talking about?
I haven't done coke since college. I'll be open and honest.
I've got a clip.
I'm
Hold on.
32.
What college did you go to? Like,
College of Charles.
What does that mean? Are you trying to pretend like you have to go to a certain college for there to be coke on campus? Rekieta?
oh, don't.
You know, it's so funny. He's sacrificed so much, like his family, money, respect, to try to essentially, in his middle age, create this image of being the cool, connected guy. He's basically at the age of 42 or whatever, trying to be what every 17-year-old boy wants to be. And then usually every 17-year-old boy has some like bad experience, whether it be drinking too much and doing something stupid, crashing a car, maybe both. But then they like learn, okay, you know, being an idiot essentially isn't cool. And then they grow up and become a normal person. I guess Nick never had that experience, so now he's doing it at 42 when he has all the money and responsibilities to make it so that that behavior, like the impact of it, is as bad as possible.
Defame them like that. It's really rude. Holy.
Let's take
all about
that. Until
how is he like the only explanation for all this leaving and coming back is to like snort coke or something?
Like redhead.
Oh, because Nick is so smart. I see what you mean.
That's the other.
That's what you said today.
But
I just thought I did. I like the color.
I don't know if Nick understands the state of higher education, but like half the colleges in the U.S. I mean, there's obviously like the elite ones that you have to have like 16 high elf sponsors to get into, but there's also like half the colleges where basically all you had to do is have a heartbeat. And the reason why is because after the No Child Left Behind Act, when they made it so that it was mandatory for the federal government to give out student loans, colleges have a massive perverse incentive to let in anybody because they know that no one can ever say they can't afford college because the federal government will always provide the loan. Now, of course, the students left with the loan afterwards, but the college doesn't care. They already got their money, which is why like college enrollment rates have exploded since 2004, and yet the quality of education has gone down and the student debt rate.
Pink.
Yeah, she didn't have the same clothes 3 days ago.
Just back in college, but how many times since college have you done cocaine?
Pink.
Yeah, she didn't have the same clothes 3 days ago.
Just back in college, but how?
It's because this guy cut stuff. Okay, I'm blaming the clipper. There was a Whippets on stream. He just clipped it.
Well, how many times since college have you done cocaine, Keanu?
I can't remember how many times since college.
Keanu, this guy is a convicted coke haver within the last 6 months. Do not let him turn this conversation about your coke usage. What are you doing?
Well,
because you said the last time you did it was in college, but how many times since college have you done it?
I don't think I have.
You don't think you have? Like you don't know if you did?
Okay, now he's trying to do his like lawyer brain shit.
Cocaine after college?
I'm trying to explain this.
How long ago did you go to college? There, take out the pretend.
I graduated in 2015.
Okay, so since 2015, you've done zero cocaine.
Do you know that in 2015, video game developer Zoe Quinn had sex with 5 video games journalists for good reviews, and that it caused the Fourth Reich?
I'd pass a drug test right now. Would you?
No. From 2015 to now, you have done zero cocaine because that's what you said.
Can I please? Am I off the stand now? Can I
remember? Like it doesn't.
What? It's too
blow.
No.
Really?
No, I did blow. No, I did blow.
No.
Remember in 2015 when the fentanyl scare started?
Fentanyl is everywhere.
Here's why that's bullshit, because I stopped doing blow in 2019 when the fentanyl scare was getting real.
No.
Wow, we missed out.
Whoa!
I asked a question.
There was no written contract. If that's
then the answer is
no. Unequivocally no. Is it? Am I
good? That's awesome. I'm glad that you.
Okay, so you just been BTFO. You just spent 20 minutes for her to just give you a conclusive no answer. And I don't know. Obviously, she should have done that from the beginning because Rekieta doesn't have any evidence otherwise. So why not just say that?
Okay.
Video now.
I'm not saying anything.
I just
But
want
again, she never should have let it been turned around about her coke usage when we have confirmed coke doer.
respond to the video about that Moody pulled up. That's all I want.
Kino coke enjoyer.
You wanted to say I understand.
Me and Eugene alone a house. Okay.
Cocaine use, all of them. I've said them all 100,000 times. I think I haven't said exactly what you just said.
Oh, you mean like as a lie?
I literally said it. That's what I'm saying.
Well,
no, not a lie. What are you talking about?
Listen, I'm not on probation either, so. I don't know.
Great. That's fantastic. How are you doing?
Better than you. That's the whole point.
Just fine.
But if you were on probation, how would...
But if you were as stupid as me, how dumb would you be? Whoa.
Did you answer the question?
Why wouldn't I admit to... I admitted that
I was asking if you were on probation. How
yes, if you were as dumb as me and had made all the same mistakes as me, wouldn't you be totally pwned though? Yes, Nick. Yes, a hypothetical person who has done the things you have would be pwned. Thank you for pointing that out.
Answer the question. This is really interesting to me.
What do you mean? At the same...
You showing PPP's bull on his channel. Keanu, can I ask a quick question? What do you think Aaron's going to be more upset about? You showing PPP's bull on his channel or you coming on this little piggy tonight?
You know what? He wasn't upset about that. But I've fallen for that on my channel before when I had
You guys are still falling for the PPP butthole image that's 6 years old? These fucking boomers.
Donkey lips on.
These guys are fake sector.
right? You know, the dearest.
Michael Ray Bauer.
Yep, Me Too in game does to death. You're right. I just bring that up because I have this ongoing meme where anytime anyone asks me to explain like how something happened, I always start with, in 2015, Zoe Quinn had sex with five video games journalists, because they always relate it back to Gamergate somehow. But yeah, you're right. She straight up did like drive a man to commit suicide and suffered no social repercussions for it.
Yeah, Michael Ray Bauer. Yeah. No, Michael Ray Bauer, right? Who's terrified of all of you, but yeah.
So is he gone now?
You're all
oh wait, no.
And
you're the worst.
He goes and does his weapon and comes back.
That's
okay. Oh, okay. Hold on. Do you see that face?
You're all jerks, and
I think
yeah,
hold on. If you know what I'm about to pull up, you know exactly what I'm about to pull up. You're gonna carry that weight. Oh no. He's literally Harry. He's literally the Disco Elysium guy. Oh my gosh. You know, the problem is, and you know what it is? It's telling, because the first time I played Disco Elysium, I played a sober run because I just want to see it's possible. Whenever I play RPGs like that, I always try to, like the first time I try to play the game in a way that at least my presumption is that they don't intend the game to be played, just to see if they like support the playstyle or the choices. And so when I first played Disco Elysium, I did like a full-on like redemption arc, total sober run. And it's one of the reasons why the game is so great, because it completely supports that. And so this is where Rekieta is now. This is Harry at the beginning of the game. Will he play the sober run? Now, if I was Rekieta's family, if I was his kids and his mom, I'd say, please, there's still hope. There's always hope. But as a member of the audience, I don't know. He's provided a lot of content.
Respectful, but that's okay.
Thanks for coming out, Gary.
Not me. I'm not respectful. You're the worst person who could possibly be a friend to someone like April. And the fact that you
no, I think the worst person who could be a friend to April is one who takes advantage of the fact that she has a drug problem to have sex with her whenever you want, and to provide her with more drugs, and in fact introduce her to new drugs like Whippets that she's not even aware of, so that she can subvert and evade a court-ordered drug program.
You would take and shred her privacy.
Sorry, where's he not in gaming analogies? Yeah.
In front of everybody for your own pathetic aims, so you could get more than.
Well, I'm a gamer. And the reason I want to make it clear that I'm a gamer is because when the gamer revolution happens, a new hierarchy will be established in the world. And those who have custom-built PCs, who are gamers, will be the aristocracy of the New World Order. Now, Worski, the problem with Worski is he's a fake gamer. He's a gamer walker, so he'll actually be executed before even the non-gamers. And then, obviously, the people who play like mobile games and stuff, they'll be in the Bitcoin mines, and they'll be whipped by the console gamer overseers, who are just barely above the slaves. And then the middle class will be like laptop, and then like upper console game, old like retro console gamers, and then the aristocracy will be custom built PCs like me.
12 people to watch your embarrassing podcast with your.
I'm just trying to hedge my bets here, guys.
Grizzled mother is disgusting. I hope you miserably.
He's an ageist. Wow.
Yeah.
You're gonna leave Kayla for April, is what I'm asking now.
Are
you still gonna leave Kayla for April, is what I'm asking now.
No, I'm not.
No, you dumb bitch. Like, what is wrong
Kayla
with
and I
you?
are fine.
Jesus Christ. She's so stupid. She doesn't realize that like all of that happened.
Did she bail?
That was amazing.
She's gonna go do Whippets.
Wow. Vince Griswold, thank you, Nick.
Why say that?
You're gonna leave Kayla for April, is what I'm asking now.
No, I'm not.
No, you dumb bitch. Well, like, what is wrong
Kayla
with
and I
you?
are fine.
So obviously her leaving is an L for her. The problem is it's in the face of like 400 Rekieta L's. I'll be giving you gym updates. Yeah. Well, that's the funny thing. If Worski gave actual gym updates, it might be a little more reliable. What he does is, so there's a psychological phenomenon that when you tell someone that you're going to do something, it reduces basically reduces the probability of you actually doing it. You should only ever tell someone that you're going to do something after you've done it. Because basically by telling them you're going to do it, you like reward yourself in your brain before you've done it. And that's what Worski does, is he always says he's going to go to the gym, which then makes him not go to the gym. Also, he's just retarded. So that's a much simpler explanation. Just ignore everything I said. He's just retarded.
Jesus Christ. He's going to go do Whippets.
Gold mine of Rekieta mock.
All right.
Honestly, and again,
So
it happens. It happens.
Rekieta got a total W here, denies that his girlfriend, his wife's girlfriend is his mistress, admits that there was nearly a divorce, confirms that his wife is only worth $50. What else did we have here? Confirms that he failed a drug, or that he missed a drug test. Total Rekieta W, pwning the A-laws. Great job, bud. Okay, so now that the Rekieta segment is over, I have a new segment for us all. So today we're going to do a brand new segment called Media Literacy. Now, normally I'm not really a term of the fan, media literacy, since I only ever see it used by people trying to justify why the thesis of all media is advocating for like gay luxury space communism, regardless of the intent of the author of the media or even like basic events in the plot. And that if you like don't agree with that, it means that you just don't have enough crippling student debt. But what I've started to realize essentially is that the only way to expose these sorts of people to new ideas is to do it through condescending, irrelevant, self-aggrandizing college courses. So class is now in session, everybody. Please turn off your cell phones and put them away, because we're going to be going over the essays submitted by your fellow students on my recent Andor video. So here we have the first essay from one of your fellow students, and I've anonymized all of these comments because, of course, I don't support anyone going and bullying people for just sharing their opinion. Now, of course, these are all public comments, so I can't really stop you from finding them and, doing like extrajudicial stupidity. Of course, that's a joke. I'm serious. Don't do that. I'm just trying to make a point about how faculty in colleges are tacitly endorse harassment to maintain political homogeneity on campus. You should have better things to do than bully people just for sharing their opinion. But here we go. Okay, let me pull this up in Paint here so I can do some markup. Where's open with Paint? Edit with Paint. There we go. See, I can read. That's why I'm a professor. And of course, I'm not going to be going over all the essays submitted by your fellow students because I have an RA that I pay minimum wage who's a graduate student who's going to do the rest of it. So, here we go. We'll get the right marker here. Marker. So, this analysis really is the best argument for right-wingers don't have any media literacy. So we use the term media literacy. That's a green. But right-wingers. I'm a right-winger, so that's going to be a negative because he's using it derogatorily. Even just starting your video with ruling left-wing institutions is an insane claim to make when political and economic power in the U.S. has been firmly cemented on the right for decades. So, the ruling left-wing institutions, first of all, in my video, I actually never used that term. I never say ruling left-wing institutions. I was pretty careful with my words. I said ruling secular material liberal institutions. But so that's a demerit right there for this essay. Furthermore, this is like hilarious, this idea that the U.S. has been ruled by the right. First of all, I'd like to draw the note that the term conservative in modern politics was derived by an essay written by Edmund Burke in the late 1700s. Edmund Burke being a member of the Whig Party in the UK, so the Liberal Party. And when we say conservatives in the West, especially in modern politics, what we're actually referring to are what in Europe they call liberal conservatives, as in liberals who basically want a speed bump rather than going the speed limit. Essentially, the overturned window in the West, all of it is secular materialist and liberal. The question is whether you think we should drive the speed limit, have speed bumps, or speed, I guess, if you're like very far liberal. This idea that after the 60s revolution that completely rewrote our Constitution to basically make a tiered citizenship structure with political classes, and that 90% of Fortune 500 board members and managers all support like basic liberal talking points. The fact that the supposedly conservative party in the United States despite promising to overturn the Civil Rights Act under Reagan, decided to mysteriously not fulfill that promise and instead gave amnesty to illegal immigrants and support illegal immigration for 40 years until very recently, and also support liberal foreign policy outlooks, including regime change. Basically, the only distinction between the Republican and the Democrats was whether the tax rate should be 32% or 30%. And then, of course, you get into the cultural institutions, which are all overwhelmingly materialist, secular, and essentially believe in a broadly liberal ideology. So the idea that we, for the last 60 years, have been cemented in the right for decades, assuming we mean the right as in not liberal, is ridiculous. What makes this even funnier is the fact that the term the right comes from the French National Assembly, where the people who sat on the right side of the room tend to be the Girondists, the mountain, who are considered the more, quote, conservative, as in liberal conservative members. So even the terminology he uses here is already captured by the fact that we live in a liberal world. As for Cyril, his arc was exactly what it should be. He was never the hero. He was chewed up and used by the Empire as a willing pawn. Here, my markup is too strong here. Let me fix this. As for Cyril, his arc is exactly what he should be. He was chewed up and used by the Empire as a willing pawn the same way Dedra was, and each one suffers the consequences of compliance. So I suppose if all we want our media to be is essentially a revenge wish fulfillment fantasy, like some kind of sick fetishist, this makes sense. The question is, there's two points here. What Cyril's right should be, or what it could be, okay? So what it should be is a personal value judgment, and obviously you wanted it to be a fetishistic revenge fantasy. Fair enough. There's a lot of people who have made money off that, specifically dealing, like high elves, dealing with Pelennor White Strike and whatnot. We're talking about what it could be, especially what it could be taking a character who starts at point A in his arc and ends at point B. What Cyril's arc could have been, which is my argument, is it could have been a demonstration about how a regime like the Empire that has to win over at least a certain amount of power, like centers of power and people to keep itself running, how those people are formed. Instead, what happens is essentially he gets shot by a random bolt in the back of the head. And now he says here was never the hero, even though he could have been a sort of hero. He was chewed up and used by the Empire as a willing pawn, the same way Dedra was. It's interesting because we're going to look at this in another essay, this idea that Dedra and Cyril will chewed up like pawns. There's another group in Andor that chews people up like pawns. In fact, there's a group that is willing to shoot its own assets on a bench after it's extracted information, or bomb civilian targets, or start an entire planetary revolution that they know will not succeed so that they can achieve their ends. Was that the Empire who does that? No, it's the rebellion. And what I'm saying here is not that, quote, the Empire is not as bad as the rebellion. It's to say that one of the most interesting aspects of Andor is the idea that it is two sides, two political actors fighting for power and control, and that because of that, they use similar methods, okay? So when we say that this is some kind of thing about how compliance gets you wasted, well, apparently resistance gets you wasted too. So unfortunately, while he did use the term of this segment, media literacy, for failing to understand the last 60 years and the very nation that this person likely lives in, and imposing their own revenge fantasy on a story that could have been about more, this person is going to get a D. Okay? And my office hours are Sunday at 3 a.m. Moving on to essay number 2. Sorry, that was, here, I fucked it up again. I didn't open it in Paint. Sorry, that was unproductive. This is referring to what this person's replying to. A more productive thing to bring up. I need a better marker that's that lets people still see. That'll be good. Okay. A more productive thing to bring up is the strong leader structure, which is flawed because any and all consequences for flawed behavior are only distributed through people with more power. So, this is true. Thus, because the only structure you have in place is a single chain hierarchy, you have anyone down the chain of a great leader with power trying to hide any mistakes that they may have from higher up by throwing subordinates under the bus too. This is also true. This ensures strong man systems preserve in company. This is partially true. So I'll give partial credit for this. This is why we need to have a structure of checks and balances enshrined in any system we may have. This is true. It is neither left or right to say that any system that loses track of the needs of the will fail. This is false. Okay, so let's go over this one. So the consequences. So it is true that in monarchical systems, and when I say monarchical, I don't just mean kings. I mean basically any system that has one man at the top. That there is a disincentivization for meritocracy, because if anyone was to become too competent, they become a threat to the king. This is why the Roman Republic managed to produce a ton of very competent people and allow them to contribute to the state. Now, the problem is the distinction between a dictator and a king. Now, while all systems that have a one man at the top do disincentivize meritocracy, ones that have no transcendental accountability for that man, as in dictatorships, tend to be even more anti-meritocratic. Why? Because if you're king by the grace of God, the presumption at least is that if you're a dickhead and hurt your country for your own sake, you'll at least have God to answer to after you die. Now, this does not create utopia. This does not always work on everybody, but it is at least some kind of check and balance. Whereas in a dictatorship, which is quite literally just might is right, a man took over and rules, then you only have to answer to essentially history. You have to answer to it's just survival of the fittest. This is why I put this as yellow. This is why we need to have a structure of checks and balances enshrined in any system we have. This is true, however, I'd like to condition this by saying that not all systems that have checks and balances are modern liberal materialist secular republics. This is a myth of history. This is called the Whig theory of history, that you can only have a balance of powers government if it's liberal, materialist, and secular. In reality, you can have governments that diffuse or disperse power that are not secular, materialist, and liberal. A great example is most medieval monarchies that had a diffused power between the local nobility on the ground, the national nobility, which are the people in between them and the king. Then you have the estates, you have burghers and whatnot. One really interesting feudal system to look at that was extremely balanced in the way that it diffused power to maintain stability and also a sense of protected rights is feudal Japan, the Tokugawa shogunate. There's a very good video by Apostolic Majesty that explains what I'm talking about here. So I just wanted to point out that any kind of assertion that you needed to have a written constitution, that is the only way to have checks and balances, is not true. But this principle that you should probably have some kind of checks and balances is true. It is neither left or right to say that any system that loses track of the needs of the people will fail. This is untrue, because governments do not exist to serve the needs of the people. Governments exist to stay in power. And the way governments stay in power is they have to make essentially willing collaborators with at least 51% of the actual effective power in a country. And that does not mean the needs of the people. Now, the people obviously do hold some power. The masses do have some power, but it is not proportional to their actual makeup of the country. This is why I said that it's important to show who the empire works for. The empire has to work for some people for it to continue, if it's supposed to replicate any kind of actual government. And so when you make the empire this basically retardarchy, where it kills random people for seemingly no gain, and can't convince even its like borderline true believers like Cyril why you should fight and die to maintain it, it ends up being kind of nonsensical. And it's a shame because, as again, what I think Cyril could have been as a character is demonstrating how the empire actually maintains power. Whether this is left or right, well, refer back to our discussion about what the left and right even means in a liberal society where everything is just a different shade of liberal. In any case, I'm going to give this an A. Good job. Now we're on to Essay 3. It's not either one, and you should pay for it. Okay, this one's going to be short. Doesn't explain himself. Why isn't it either one? Oops. Let's get the right one here. Yeah, there we go. It's not either one. Here's the thing, guys. I count as a not completed the assignment. And the reason this is not completed the assignment is because if you're going to get an A in this class, you need to either write me a big essay that I can turn into content for a segment on my show, or you need to watch the whole video, press either like or dislike, either one's fine, and subscribe to the channel. And you should pay for it. And this is the big reason why this one's going to get even worse than an F. Paying the rat. Do not pay the rat unless they provide you with something that is actually worth money. And the fact of the matter is that after fucking up Star Wars for 15 years, the rat does not deserve your money. And they are not going to pay you for coming in here and defending them. You just look like a simp. In fact, what you look like is, the like stormtrooper who shows for 4 seconds, gets shot in the head and wonders why he fought for the Empire. So I'm not even going to give that one an F. It doesn't deserve it. Here's one. This one's out of order. A liberal-led revolution or rebellion? Sorry, I'm thinking too much for them. Rebellion? LOL. Now I assume, and I'm going to assume because they don't provide elaboration, that what this is referring to is the leftist idea that it is impossible to have a liberal revolution, that the essentially locus and revolution is defined as a left-wing phenomenon because it is insurgent. I think this concept, whether this is referring to it or not, is very funny because the only successful revolutions that have managed to produce states that have actually lasted beyond the lifetime, basically lifetime plus generation of their creators, are ironically liberal revolutions, whether it be in France, although they have multiple other ones, obviously, or the best example is America, which was a liberal revolution. So I find this idea of how apparently only leftists have a monopoly of revolution to be hilarious given the historical context. I'm not even going to grade this one. I guess it's an F because they didn't write a whole essay. Next essay. I paused at 1 minute just so I could read the comments. They didn't disappoint. So this one's going to get an F for the same reasons the one 2 times ago is. It's fine if you don't want to do the assignment. I always fuck this up. Hold on. It's fine if you don't want to do the assignment and you don't want to write an essay. But it's either or. Either you write an essay so that I can make fun of it on the show, or you watch the whole video. You can't just stop at 1 second. So this is going to be an F, unfortunately. F. Okay, here we go. This is the keystone. This is a very, very active student. This is a student that very clearly has strong opinions, and we love to see that. Okay. So, the idea they failed to provide Imperial True Believer that are relatable is malarkey, except none of them are relatable. Dedra, Cyril, and Partagaz and Krennic are some of the most fleshed out characters in the show, and their humanity and reliability is more than palpable. Let's take these in turn. Dedra, sociopath who ends up in Gitmo. Cyril, randomly shot in the back of the head before he can make a decision about whether he believes that what the Empire did on Gorman is wrong or not. Partagaz listens to Kanye West's NHH and then kills himself because he couldn't censor it on Twitter. Krennic shows up so that he can make villain laugh and put his hand on your head and tell you I just need 2 more weeks to do the Death Star. These are not fleshed out characters. And it's okay. Partagaz and Krennic really don't need an arc in a story like this. They're supporting characters. They're there to drive the plot. That's fine. Cyril and Dedra did, and they didn't, and that's what I criticized. So unfortunately, we're going to give this is a red. But the show clearly shows us how oppressive the Empire is and how easily it turned on its most devoted servant. Yes, just like Luthen shooting the guy on the bench. So this is not just a purely Empire thing. What you actually wanted is not relatable Imperial True Believer. No, that is what I wanted. And I said that. What you wanted was a relatable Empire. This is true. I do want a relatable Empire. And the reason I want a relatable Empire is not because of some right-wing plot to basically reputation wash the guys who wearing Hugo Boss in the show. It's because the Empire has to work for somebody. The Empire has to work for a critical mass of its constituents. And by constituents, I don't mean like its literal population. I just mean the people who essentially make up the power structure of the galaxy to keep it in charge. And if it does not do that, then it will fall as a government. And what is the purpose of governments? It's not to serve the needs of their people, it's to stay in power. Something that's impossible. This is wrong. If it was impossible, then it wouldn't have existed as long as it did. We're talking about an empire that turned against its own dedicated servant, that committed several genocide in the span of 2 decades, and which entire plan for maintaining control was to have the means to destroy any rebellious planet. Yes, that is the empire's plan. Destroy opposition, just like any government. Have a monopoly of force over its territory, like any government. Let's think about another government in Star Wars that failed to maintain its monopoly of force over its territory. How about a government that allows random private organizations to blockade its planets and have no army to respond to it? Oh wait, that's the Republic that the Empire replaced. That's what happens when you don't do this. And when I say that, I don't mean when you don't do genocide or when you don't, be mean. What I'm saying is that the Empire has a goal when it does these actions. It is not just a random, irrational, evil actor. And yes, that is what I want portrayed in the show. I like Andor because it shows that both of these parties are seeking political power and are willing to employ violence to maintain it. And the Empire needs to serve someone if it's going to get people to do those actions. The death of Cyril was not a missed opportunity. I think it is. It's a lesson, a warning for other Imperial. So a lot of this, I'm just going to preface this, a lot of this is what we call writing for the writer, okay? There's what happens in the show, and there's what you learned from what happened on the show. I try to just talk about what happens in the show and what could have happened in the show and which is better. A lot of this is writing for the writer, which is a red. It's a lesson, a warning for other Imperial characters, and a foil to Andor himself. It's funny they bring up the foil to Andor because there's some truth to this, that Cyril is a foil to Andor. But do you know what the only real difference between Andor and Cyril is? It's not that Andor's a good guy because he's fighting for the people who treat their people as expendable with the right aesthetics. It's that Andor got lucky. Watch the scene where Cyril dies. Cyril doesn't die because he got outplayed by Andor. Andor doesn't survive because he was better. And Cyril gets shot by a random blaster bolt off screen. The only difference between Andor and Cyril is that Andor got lucky. And that's fine. That can happen in a story. But don't pretend like there's that there's a fundamental moral difference in the what they're fighting. They're both fighting for essentially political groups who want control. He was a man who believed in order and justice, but failed to see the bigger picture beyond his own ego. What am I talking about? I'm talking about my Andor review. This is class. You should have gone to the last class. I'm gonna have to mark you down for that. When he discovered he had become an agent of chaos responsible for the genocide of an entire people. See, you know what's funny about this? It's clear that Cyril's feelings about what was happening on Gorman were not clear, because why does he fight Andor? Because Andor's about to shoot Dedra, the one who orchestrated said genocide. Which means that clearly his personal feelings for his, I guess, girlfriend, are more important, or at least he still has them. But we don't get to see a resolution of this because he just gets randomly shot in the back of the head. He couldn't cope with it. No, he made a decision, and it was to prevent Andor from shooting Dedra, because that's what was against what he stood for. We don't really ever get to find out what Cyril stood for. He never gets to look at the camera and say, I'm going to either fight the Empire or support it because of my personal experience. He just gets randomly shot in the head. This is what I mean when I say what this character could have been rather than what it should have been. But rather than do something about it, rather than pick up arms against the Empire, rather than simply go home and rethink his life, he saw Andor, the literal embodiment of rebellion against the Empire. No, he saw a guy about to shoot his girlfriend. And the scene makes that very clear. That's why he tackles Andor. And because he recognizes Andor as a member of the rebellion, and therefore connects the rebellion to killing his girlfriend. Andor doesn't know who... he was never a hero. He never got the chance to... The question is, obviously Andor is the hero of the story. I don't have a problem with that. And I don't think that Cyril necessarily needs to be made into the hero of the story. But if he's going to be a foil for Andor, then he needs he needs to have a similar arc. He needs to, and in the sense that with completion to it, whereas Andor's obviously is at the end of Rogue One. Andor dies accomplishing a victory for the rebellion. Cyril just gets shot in the back of the head. And is it just because one of them supported the Empire and the other one supported the rebellion? Then we're getting back to revenge fantasy. He was a nobody, he was a pawn, and the only thing, except this contradicts what you said before, which is that he was responsible for literally the destruction of Gorman. Either he's a nobody, or he is responsible for this like terrible, super important event. And the only thing that made him special was his toxic relationship with Dedra and the Empire. So the problem with this is that he had already had a successful career as a bureaucrat within the Empire without Dedra. And he was continuing to work for it. Like I said, that is where he starts. He starts as a successful Empire functionary. Where does he end? Where does the character end? He ends with tackling Andor to stop him from shooting his girlfriend and then getting shot in the back of the head. There's no movement for the character. His story is a tragedy of those that remain loyal to such an empire. So can we say that the guy who sits on a bench, gives information to Luthen and gets shot, that his story is a tragedy of those who support the rebellion? Who see the rebellion as their enemies? Who see the Empire as their enemies? Even when they clearly have been shown the reason of such a rebellion? What, the reason of shooting the guy at the bench so that his family doesn't have this father after promising that you'll save him? And the most tragic part is that Cyril ruined his own life alone. Well, you can say that about any character. They're all responsible for their own actions. It's called living in the world, buddy. His superior understood exactly what happened and what would come if he tried to push it. This sentence doesn't mean anything. Yes, Dedra knew that there was going to be a conflagration on Gorman. She did not know that he was going to be down with the riot. In fact, she tried to stop him. So no, Cyril didn't hear his warning and did it anyway. When he fell in love with one of the most dangerous and devious an ISB supervisor. They fell in love with one of the most dangerous and devious person in the galaxy. So inferior of an inferior of an inferior. So if she's one of the most devious and dangerous people in the galaxy, then what's Partagaz and Krennic? Are they just like, they're Himmler and she's Eichmann, right? And it's funny because clearly the Eichmann character is Cyril, because he does at least start at representing sort of this banality of evil, tacit consent working within the system. But he never moves to point B. He never goes anywhere. Then he willfully became Dedra's spy, and he willfully chose to fight a dude over a half-decade-old beef. No, he chose to fight the dude because he was about to kill his... There's literally a scene where he sees that he's pointed the gun right at Dedra, doing something about the genocide he was against. Every step of the... Well, we actually don't know how he feels about the Gorman riot. We know how he feels about being used to basically pull off a false flag, but we don't know his larger opinions about what the Empire has to do to maintain power, because he gets shot in the head before he gets to grapple with them. Every step of the way, he had chosen to do what he did. Again, all of this can be applied to Andor. All of this can be applied to all the rebellion characters who continue to work with people who will sacrifice innocents and shoot their own people so that they can get control of the galaxy. And it's exactly the same for Dedra every step of the way. She was warned by Blevin, Partagaz by Hurt. Every step of the way, we saw her being hesitant. No, we actually only saw her being hesitant towards the end. It's actually one of the other issues I have with the show. She's the one who comes up with the plan and is a straight up killer for half of it. And then by the end, when she's basically executing the plan that she made, is surprised. Having that possibility to get out, no, she didn't have a possibility to get out because she supported the Empire. She made a choice. But she never did. She complied with the system when it suited her and broke the rules when it advantaged her within the system. Yes, sounds like a rebel. Until she, right? You see how this all can be thrown back at the rebels. They follow the laws of the Empire when it suits them. They break them when they don't. And I think that's intentional. I think that showing sort of the methodology, at least, equivalence between the Empire and the rebellion does help show that what this is just a battle for political control. It's not good versus evil. And that's obviously what Star Wars has always been, is portraying it as good versus evil because of the aesthetics and everything. But that's kind of what made Andor interesting, is it showed that in real life, these terrorist groups, the equivalent to the rebellion, are not just trying to make some kind of anarchist commune. They have a political vision that justifies, in their minds, their violence. Until she wrecked it all and had to pay the consequences. So going to Gitmo. Also, I don't think she was the one who wrecked it all. She's obviously a victim of the system, but so are all the other rebels. So are all the rebels that Luthen sacrifices throughout the whole show. That's the point. That's, if anything, if you wanted to draw a parallel between her fate and Luthen's. Her end was never supposed to be a happy one. That's fine. There never would. That's the other thing is, so because I'm asking for an arc, I expect it to be happy? Not at all. Have her get killed. That's fine. I'm just saying that if you're going to keep her alive, you're going to keep Andor from taking the shot and then kill off Cyril for no reason. I'm expecting a lot out of her, and that's not what happened. Instead, she sits in a jail cell and gets basically told that she's an idiot, despite the whole thing being her plan, and it worked. They never would have been an Imperial power couple like Cyril and Dedra commanding an ISB and showing up to kick rebel ass, and well, they could have been. That's a choice. That's a writing choice that they could have made. I don't know why you're saying that it never could have. You're not in the writer's room. Neither am I. I'm just presenting a alternate possibility and why I think it would have made a better story. Not what serves your political agenda. Dedra, in her zeal and because of the ineptitude of the system, again, the Empire is inept when we're trying to make a point online, but it's this scary, tyrannical regime that requires the resistance of everyone in the galaxy when we're trying to make a compelling story, right? The Empire has to be a threat. It has to work for enough people to be difficult to take down, otherwise this whole story is trivial. She was trying so hard to serve. Actually became a tool of its dismantle. Well, this is writing for the writers. If you had listened to the Nemec Manifesto, you would understand exactly why her fate is so depressing. The Empire needs for control is unnatural. You know what's funny about the Nemec Manifesto is that, again, just like a lot of the stuff in here, a lot of what it says could be applied to the rebellion itself, number one. And number two, it is exactly the sort of vague, ambiguous manifesto that appeals to a wide audience, which is good for rebellions. You ever notice that in the real world, whenever you have an insurgent group, it's everything to everyone? To one group, it's communist. To one man, it's communist. To the other, it's religious. It's a religious fundamentalist. To one, it's conservative. To the other, it's liberal. One, it's going to make the eggs cheaper. The other one, it's going to win them some war. Perfect example is the Iranian Revolution. There were people who took part in the Iranian Revolution who honestly thought that the result of it was going to be a socialist Iran. A secular, materialist, socialist Iran. It was a full half of the coalition that took down the Pahlavi dynasty. And what's Iran now? A theocratic dictatorship. That's because the coalition that destroys the previous regime is never the coalition that rules afterwards. It's usually one of the many factions. So, this idea that this Nemec Manifesto is super politically vague to appeal to anyone who has any kind of grievance against the Empire is the way revolutionary manifestos that work are written, which I thought was interesting. The other thing that's interesting is this idea that only the Empire wants control. The rebels aren't just the rebels. The official name of the rebels in Star Wars is the Alliance to Restore the Republic. They explicitly want to enforce their control over the galaxy under a different political system. Now, if you like that political system, the Republic, then it makes sense why you'd support them. But have no delusions. It's not going to be some anarchist commune where every planet rules itself and every man's an autonomous, ruled on the NAP principle. They want to replace one political system of control with another one. Now, you can get into arguments about which one is better, which serves the needs of the people better, and that's fine. But don't pretend like it's only the Empire that's looking for control here. The rebels aren't going to kill the Emperor and then retire. And that's not what happens in the expanded universe. It's not even what happens in the shitty sequels. Palpatine was so much of a control freak that he made sure no one could topple him. Except when he does get toppled, right? So it's clearly not a perfect system. But even so, the rest of this doesn't make sense either. He made his subordinate too busy to fight each other, constrained by ineffective rules, so they could never depose him. Except for how Grand Moff Tarkin is the governor of all the governor's planets, which is what they tell you in New Hope, who is second to the Empire, even above Darth Vader. And is obviously a very competent individual. Even Krennic himself, despite him being kind of joked with the 2 more weeks, he does eventually finish the Death Star. Darth Vader, he's Darth Vader. The Empire is filled with competent people. Thrawn, I mean, if you want to bring up the expanded universe. So this idea that it is completely anti-meritocratic and is like this sort of Hitlerian World War II NSEEK regime where they have overlapping dependencies that are fighting each other. Again, either the Empire is a ailing, failing, collapsing regime that just needs someone to kick the door in which case it's not a very interesting story, or it is this super powerful threat that is worth showing how a rebellion can destroy. People too competent aren't an asset, except Darth Vader, Tarkin, and Thrawn. If one isn't loyal enough to follow the rules, he's a threat to the Empire. And that is ironic. Well, yeah, okay, so this is how literally every government that's ever existed works. If you are not loyal to the government and you are in a position of power, yes, at the very least you get deposed. If not, you get charged with treason. And ironically, why Deborah's countless infraction to ISB protocol led to the Death Star leak. The Death Star got leaked probably because it was worked on for 10 years across like a zillion different planets, and something like this was eventually always going to happen. Now, you can try to point out that the purpose and the story of it coming from Dedra is like a product of her ambition or something, but unfortunately, because it involves a character that doesn't actually go anywhere, that doesn't start in one place and end in another, it's difficult to really say what lesson can be drawn from it. She served with zeal a system that wanted her to be a cog, just like every system wants loyal and competent administrators, by going against the system rules, and if it caused the end of that system. The fact you also fail to understand Anakin's fall. So this one I think is the funniest segment, because all the rest of this is just sort of like the standard leftist writing for the writers, media literacy, like, you know, Star Trek Picard talking about the state, the feelings of the universe type shit. But this is just actual prequel washing, which is really funny. The fact you also fail to understand Anakin's fall is a pretty good indication of your failure at media literacy. So I'll give him a green for that. Media literacy, that's the name of the segment. He isn't a psychopath. No, he just murdered a bunch of women and children and then told his girlfriend about it. No, okay. He's a flawed, and then has Count Dooku on his knees, sits there and hesitates, and then in cold blood cuts his head off. In fact, the prequels go out of their way to make Anakin a cold-blooded murderer from the second movie. It's why I like the HAL 9000 cut, because it keeps a lot of the bad things Anakin does, but because of the way it cuts it, it recontextualizes them to essentially be crimes of passion that he's not proud of. So like in the Dooku scene, he cuts his head off as part of like a movement at the end of the battle. It's not like he holds him there and then Anakin thinks about it, gets cold, and then kills him cold-blooded. Or with the Tuskens, it just shows like the beginning of the massacre, and then he doesn't go brag to his girlfriend about it, have a meltdown to his girlfriend about it, right? He's a flawed character with a massive anger issues. True. Well, hold on, I'll give him a green for that. He's a flawed character with massive anger issues. The problem is that most of the worst things he does, like telling Padme that he would do it again, that he slaughtered them like animals and they deserved it, he says that in cold blood. He says that after the massacre. So it's not just anger issues. Because of his traumatized childhood, see, this is writing for the writers again. Also, Palpatine grooming him. If you are not watching the HAL 9000 cut, Anakin literally has 2 conversations with Palpatine. 2. That ain't grooming. Now, if you watch the HAL 9000 cut, which is this is arguing against, there's a couple more, but his massacre of the Tusken tribe and Attack of the Clones is precisely there to show how far Anakin is ready to go for the people he loves. His mom was already dead. He accomplished nothing by killing the Tuskens. He didn't protect anyone. He didn't go anywhere for anyone. He did it because he's a psychopath. At least in the HAL 9000 cut, he does it in a fit of anger and then feels shame for it, which is why he does not then go tell his girlfriend in cold blood that it was worth it. For a Jedi can be. It's literally a setup for the fall. No, it is the fall. And you know how I know it's the fall? Because what's the fall in Revenge of the Sith? It's him killing the younglings, right? Well, he kills the children. He kills the Tusken children too. It's a morally equivalent act. If him killing younglings is the fall, well, then so is him killing Tusken children. And not only does he kill the Tusken children, but he says he's glad he did it afterwards. The fact you believe the Jedi ideology ruled the galaxy betrays your incomprehension of Star Wars universe. The Jedi were at best the muscle of the Galactic Senate. It was extremely rare, except they're sent as diplomats to sign treaties in Phantom Menace, you know the entire premise of the movie, which means that they have sovereignty. Rare for common folk to see them. Now, this is one of the funniest lines in this whole thing. So it's rare. So when Han Solo claims he doesn't believe in the Force, it actually makes sense. The guy was at best 10 years old when the Republic was replaced, orphaned from the slums of Corellia, never saw a Jedi in his life, so of course he wouldn't know what a Jedi is. You know who does know who a Jedi is in the prequels? A Tunisian slave child on the rim of the Empire. Knows what a Jedi is, knows what a lightsaber is, and knows what the Force is. You know who else knows who the Jedi and what the Force are? That Tunisian slave child's Hebrew master, who knows a specific Jedi trick, the Jedi mind trick, and how they don't work on him. All right, but who else knows who the Jedi are and what the Force are? How about a Jamaican underwater fishman who can barely speak English and eats like weird animals off of the Tatooine marketplace? Yes, Jar Jar says, Yusa a Jedi. He knows what a Jedi is. A literal, like, lost civilization underwater. So if the people on Tatooine, which don't even recognize Republic credit, so keep that in mind, a place that doesn't even use the Republic currency, know the people there, the lowest class people know what Jedi are and know what the Force is. You're going to tell me that a kid in Corellia, which is one of the core worlds at the level of Alderaan, who was only 10 years old when the Empire fell, or when the Republic fell, doesn't know what the Jedi are. Thank you for proving my point. That said, you utterly fail to explain the thesis presented to your tile. This is true. No point you explain truly why Andor should be understood as Jan 6th instead of October 7th. I'm going to give him credit for this one because the video originally was mostly just an Andor review. And the title is just sort of a meme about why I think Andor... It's funny that despite being written by center-left authors, Andor, at least when applied to the real world, applies more in a right-wing... like to, essentially, the Jan 6ers, like insurgents, right? Or if you even consider them that. What I'm saying is it refers more to like a resistance... The resistance in the real world is not center-left, is my point, to make it simple. So I'm going to take accountability. I'm going to be IDUS. I'm going to learn and grow. And I'm going to fix it. The title of this video is when I cut it up, is going to be "The ISB is the FBI, the Gore of Gorman is white America, and the Gorman Massacre is January 6th. Let me explain why. The ISB being the FBI, I don't even think these guys would argue with that. At least the ones who are leftists, right? Because leftists hate the FBI and would definitely see it as like an institution of power for whatever they think the enemy is. The liberals might not like me saying that the ISB is the FBI because since these Star Wars fans can only think in the terms of aesthetics and nothing else, they think ISB bad, ISB Gestapo. When and especially because of the fact that, you know, just a few short years ago, the ISP was prosecuting the guy that they hate. The ISBC, I'm using them interchangeably. The FBI was prosecuting the guy that they hate and everything like that. But ultimately, the ISB very clearly is the internal security agency of the Empire. And if the Empire is the ruling power and ruling ideology of the galaxy, then it is analogous to the internal security organization of the ruling empire and ideology of today, which makes it the FBI. That's the easy one. The Gore is white America. Okay. So don't you think it's interesting how the Gore of Gorman, they're not just the people who live on Gorman, but they have a specific ethnonym for the people who live there, the Gore, right? They have their own language. They have their own phenotype, which is very obvious in the film. They have their own art. They have their own traditions. They have their own culture. And not only that, but they have a specific and distinct claim over a homeland, which is Gorman itself, that they believe that they have an intrinsic right to, and that they have an intrinsic right to protect. Now, what is white America in the U.S., at least the white America that showed up to Jan 6th? It is a distinct ethnic group with its own ethnonym. It has a 200-year artistic culture and its own dialects across the many regions of America. And it is a group that believes that it has a right to a distinct territorial homeland that it feels is being eroded, just like the Gorman. So, now the last one, which I guess this is the most controversial one, that the Gorman Massacre is Jan 6th. Well, if we take the first two premises as true, it makes it a little easier to understand the last one. One of the most popular right-wing theories about Jan 6th, and I'm going to say it's a theory because, you know, there's a lot of them, is that January 6th was infiltrated by the FBI, the ISB, and then escalated intentionally so that they could arrest a whole bunch of basically what they consider oppositional to like and they'll say this, they'll say it's a threat to our democracy, right? And that basically the FBI had an interest in escalating what occurred on January 6th so that they could arrest a whole bunch of people who they think are a threat to, quote, our democracy, a liberal, materialist, secular system. And there is some proof to this. Specifically that Milo Yiannopoulos, one of the organizers, was warned not to show up to January 6th, 2 days before, that he informed Nick Fuentes, there's a video of Nick Fuentes urging people to break into the Capitol, despite that, he was never charged, despite other videos of far lesser people doing far less, getting full-on mega sentences. that Baked Alaska live streamed the whole thing and that he was one of the first people to break in. And he also got a basically, there's a court transcript where the prosecutor specifically says that they don't want a full sentencing on him, that they want him to get leniency. So there is some support to that. And what is the Gorman Massacre? The Gorman Massacre is a genuine Gorman resistance protest of people who feel like their country/planet is being essentially usurped out from under them, that they know that there's an armory being built and they're being told straight to their face that it's not true, even though it seems apparent to everybody on the ground, just like how many of the January 6thers believed that the election had been stolen and had been told that it's misinformation over and over again. And ultimately what happens? You have an ISB agent who shoots someone in the crowd. You could also make parallels between the guards who are who get beat up and set off, which is what sets off the riot, them reacting to the Capitol Police who ultimately shoot Ashley Babbitt. And I'm not going to get into what was justified, whether we think any of this is good or bad or not. I'm just drawing a parallel here. And I do think it's interesting because on the one hand, it's hard to believe that the writers would want to make sort of parallel like this because obviously we're led to be very sympathetic to the Gorman. But on the other hand, do we really think that there are people who are sympathetic to January 6th in the writer's room of Andor? I don't know. I don't know if it's a horseshoe theory thing. I don't know if there's someone based in the writer's room, but I think it's an interesting parallel. And that was the original point of my video when I said that Andor is January 6th and not October 7th. So I hope that I have alleviated this concern and created a new clickbait title so that you can leave even more essays for the next media literacy segment. And we have one last essay. So, you are so beyond based. Hold on. You are so beyond based, and your arguments actually decimate these people. It's a shame they will never see any of it from their $1 million mansions. Now, this looks like the perfect essay, right? Because it agrees with me, and that's what media literacy is. However, this is actually a comment not from the Andor video, but from another video. And so I'm going to have to give it a little minus for that. But because it does agree with me, it gets a plus 100, and this is an A+ comment. Congratulations, you pass, you can have career opportunities, you can join student government, and you can get paid to be a protester. Thank you very much. Thanks for playing. And so concludes the media literacy segment. I have one more thing to talk about, back to drama, and it's just a very brief segment on what's happening with Creator Clash, which is, I said before in the last video, it was maybe delayed. And I want to say maybe basically to cover my ass because it hadn't been confirmed yet. But yes, I have officially won the Fell For It Again award. I thought that it wasn't going to get delayed and that they should change the thing. I was completely wrong. I'm an idiot. Let's listen.
I suppose it's out there in the ether, but Creator Clash is delayed. Creator Clash is delayed to a date far in the future. For me, this is a huge bummer, not only because I was bringing out a bunch of my family, but I was losing weight at a lightning clip. I was losing weight at a fucking lightning clip. And I got down as low today, so I suppose. So this is a fighter that has been training for 6 months. They've probably been on a very strict diet. He says he's lost weight, and oops, all canceled. Oops, no show. And it's not just the fighters that are going to be a victim of this. It's also the fans who bought tickets. And, there are people saying they can't get a refund. You probably still get a refund. I'll be real, guys. I've dealt with airlines a lot. If you show up and you just are annoying enough, you can kind of get whatever you want. But the point is that doesn't absolve anything. The point is that this is a decision that's been made 20 days out, and we still don't even have technically the official announcement. The reason why I'm counting this as official is just because this guy is part of the fight. Like, he's not... he could be lying. That would be hilarious. But this is... I'll take this as... I would hang my hat on this being true, because this guy is part of the fight. It's the first time someone actually associated with it will say it. Now, when he says postponed to a date far in the future,
I kind of feel like that means never, which means someone's going to be holding the bag. Someone's going to be holding the bag for the cancellation of the venue. And I guess it's not going to be Ian and Anissa, because from the little we know, it seems that basically they just got their equity paid out, which means they're, again, running all the way to the bank while this event is going to tank, and there's going to be, they'll say there was money for charity because of the stupid Hassan streams, but not from the event itself. And, the real funny thing about this is the only people that this is going to hurt, other than the fighters, are the final denizens of the Ian Ian bunker, right? The only people who are still holding tickets to this and going to go were the people who made it through all the hoops of, I'm okay with him being a cuck. I'm okay with him going back on Content Cop. I'm also okay with him associated with Hassan. I'm also okay with him going back to Content Cop. I'm okay with him shitting on a friend of 10 years. And I'm okay with him saying the skulls are humorous. Like, you have to be that exact fan that makes it through all those little rings to get to the point where you get screwed by this. And that kind of makes me feel a little less bad about it, because I feel like if you made it through all those wings, it's sort of like, wow, like, what did you think was going to happen? So, last thing. This is just Ethan, of course, just continue to shit on them. And this is just funny because it's just old statements about how iDubbbz is cheap, he doesn't pay for his dates' dinners, and it's like, okay, whatever, that's just gossip, right? But then there's this clip of Anissa just straight up confirming it. Also, this was back when she had implants that she later removed. She had Ian pay for implants and then pay for them to be have him pay for them to be removed, which is just like a diabolical troll.
There was a TikTok that came out from a girl who went on a date with Ian before he met me, and she took lurk photos of him that he didn't even know existed. It really hurt him to see that. He was just trying to date, and this girl he didn't know that those photos existed. I showed him, I was like, did you know that these photos existed? Because it doesn't look like you knew. There's one of him from behind, and she like took a picture of him from behind in the parking lot, and another where he's like looking at something and she took a picture. Yeah. She said that he took her to Cheesecake Factory and he didn't pay, which I totally believe.
So, she totally believes he didn't pay. She just will not ever not take an opportunity to shit on him. Now, you may say, okay, well, that was a more recent, or that was an older clip, right? So maybe it's gotten better. Now, as we can see, we're about 5 tattoos later. Well, more than that, like 10 tattoos later here. So this is a more recent one.
Standards, that's true. Beauty standards, that's true. But so I asked him, because to me, like, honestly, if I were to like rate Ian honestly, I would say like 9.5. Like, literally, the only thing that would make...
Wow, that's the nicest thing she's ever said about
him like, 0.5 hotter is if like he fucking, his breath didn't stink all the time or whatever. Like, literally, I really...
Imagine saying, yeah, so he's a 9.5. Unfortunately, his breath smells like shit all the time. Like, it's endemic.
I do think like he's a 9.5. And so I asked him, like,
who needs enemies? Like, why does this guy need to make enemies of Ethan when he has his own wife to do it for him? Well, that's all I got. We're 2.5 hours in, and it's Memorial Day. Happy Memorial Day, everybody. I understand some people don't like it because it's a secular holiday, but it is a holiday, and you should take advantage of the holidays while you can.